Chapter 658. No one could see that a figure was quietly standing on top of a towering tree. No one could sense any aura coming from his body. His eyes were faintly glowing as he stared at the young man and woman who were surrounded by several brute beasts. He muttered softly, "Is there really no way to awaken? Can we still escape?" Wang Shangwu was trembling as he spoke. His legs had gone soft, and he felt rather strange. Su Wan had almost fainted from fright when she first encountered the brute demon beasts. Later on, Su Wan who was clearly an ordinary person without any cultivation, gradually seemed to have changed into a different person. She became bolder and bolder. Wang Shangwu did not know why she had scared away several brute demon beasts the last time. "We don't have to be afraid of them. They will be afraid." Su Wan spoke as she stared intently at the 6 barbarian demonic beasts. Her pupils constricted. A deep light had unknowingly started to spread from her clear eyes. It was as if her pupils were instantly filled with mysterious symbols. At this instant, her clothes fluttered and her hair fluttered. An invisible aura spread out from Su Wan's body. Roar! The eyes of several barbaric beasts widened for no reason. They seemed to have sensed some kind of fearful aura and immediately retreated a few steps. They stared at Su Wan in astonishment and did not dare to step forward for a moment. Roar! The roar of the barbaric beasts was like thunder. The ground trembled and the bushes swayed behind the barbaric beasts. Then, a barbaric beast that looked the same but was much larger appeared. It stared at Su Wan with its gong-like eyes. It seemed to have sensed something and was filled with fear. However, it seemed to be even more ferocious. "This one seems to be even stronger. We are in big trouble." Wang Shangwu could not help but tremble. The last barbaric beast was obviously much stronger. Its aura was even more ferocious. It did not seem to be afraid of Su Wan. Roar! The strongest barbaric demon beast let out a ferocious growl as it stared at Su Wan with its ferocious eyes. It then slowly walked towards Su Wan. "Wang Shangwu, you go first." Su Wan's eyes glowed, and they were completely covered by the strange, mysterious patterns. It was as if she had suddenly become a different person. "What's wrong, Wan? If we're leaving, we'll leave together. I can't leave you behind." Looking at Su Wan's transformation, Wang Shangwu was shocked. This was not the first time he had seen such changes in Su Wan, and each time, the changes were bigger than the last. "I'm fine. It's just that something seems to want to come out of my body," Su Wan said. She stared at the barbaric demonic beast that came after her. Her originally fair skin seemed to be shining from the inside out. Roar! With a loud roar, the barbaric demon beast charged towards Su Wan. It bared its fangs, and a bloody smell rushed out from its mouth, causing people to feel dizzy. "Wan, be careful. Evil beast, I'll fight it out with you." Wang Shangwu thought that the barbaric demon beast was about to attack. He gritted his teeth and shouted. He immediately rushed in front of Su Wan and threw the large rock in his hand to the barbaric demon beast with all his strength. Wrapped in Yuan Qi, he threw it at the barbaric demon beast. Bang! The distance between them was very close. The rock directly smashed into the barbaric demon beast's head. With a bang, the barbaric demon beast did not move at all. Instead, the rock directly shattered into pieces. Roar! Perhaps it was because of the pain, the barbaric demon beast roared in anger. It was not afraid of Wang Shangwu at all. Its huge body suddenly pounced towards Wang Shangwu. It opened its mouth and a bloody smell rushed out. In an instant, it was in front of Wang Shangwu and bit down on him. "Wan, run!" Wang Shangwu shouted. His heart was trembling in fear. Under the terrifying aura, his legs were already weak. However, he did not forget to ask Su Wan to run. Roar! The smell of blood assailed his nostrils. The ferocious mouth was almost about to land on Wang Shangwu's head. At this moment, the eyes of the figure on the towering tree fluctuated. The aura on his body surged as he stared at Su Wan. "Don't!" A delicate cry suddenly sounded from Su Wan's mouth like a thunderclap. At this moment, for some unknown reason, light shone from Su Wan's body. A shocking aura erupted like a volcano and rushed towards the clouds. At the same time, Su Wan-er's eyes glowed with dazzling light like the sun. Her skin was covered in light. Behind Su Wan-er, the energy of heaven and earth gathered. The void rumbled, and the illusory image of a dragon and a phoenix appeared. Multicolored light rose, and flames surged. The light was hazy, making her look like a goddess. Huge rocks crumbled, towering trees broke, the earth shook, the clouds surged, and the sky changed color. Roar! In the nearby mountains, the roars of the beasts were like thunder. Roar, roar! For some unknown reason, the ferocious barbaric demon beasts in front felt the most terrifying aura at this moment. As they roared, their fierce eyes changed and their bodies trembled. Suddenly, they trembled and directly crawled on the ground. Wang Shangwu escaped a calamity. His head was almost torn apart by the barbaric demon beast. Under the impact of the terrifying aura, his vision turned black and he fainted. Rumble, with Su Wan-er as the center, the energy of heaven and earth gathered. The surrounding ground cracked inch by inch. The sky was filled with multicolored light, and the void was filled with the sound of wind and thunder. Uff! Su Wan-er spat out a mouthful of blood, and her body fell to the ground. Far away, outside the barbaric demon forest, Su Yi used the Origin Supreme technique to intimidate the beasts. He searched everywhere for Wang Shangwu and Su Wan-er for 3 days and 3 nights, but there was no result. Rumble! The ground shook, and a trembling sound came from the void in the distance. For no reason, Su Yi's heart trembled. He felt a powerful aura coming from afar. Whoosh! BB up, cool craftsman. A one Su Yi flew up the towering tree and stared at the void in the distance. The terrifying aura came from afar, but it disappeared very quickly. Something big must have happened, Su Yi pondered. From the aura he felt, something big must have happened. What a terrifying aura. It's very strong. Ling Qianque's voice came out from Su Yi's ears. She was surprised. She also felt the terrifying aura in Su Yi's body. Is it the aura of the demon clan? Could there be a demon clan expert there? Su Yi frowned. He could vaguely feel the terrifying aura, but it didn't feel like the aura of the demon clan. It doesn't feel like the aura of the demon clan, but it's very powerful, Ling Qianque said. Su Wan-er and Wang Shangwu both fainted. Several ferocious barbaric demon beasts crawled. The ruthlessness in their eyes had long been replaced by shock and fear. When the terrifying aura disappeared, they didn't dare to get up for a long time. Chapter 659. When this figure landed, the bodies of several barbaric beasts started to tremble again, and they started to tremble uncontrollably. It was an old woman in her 60s. She was dressed in coarse clothes, and her hair was silver. She had a wrinkled face, but her eyes were shining. If Su Yi was here, he would have an impression of her. This old woman was an old servant of the Su family. She had been with the Su family for quite some time. The old woman carried Su Wan-er in her arms. Her face was filled with excitement. She murmured, "Miss, I can finally bring you home." The old woman was so excited that her body was trembling. She was about to leave when she saw Wang Shangwu. She murmured, "You little brat, your talent is pitifully weak. However, you have a good temperament and character. You have taken care of Miss many times. Miss is indebted to you. Let me bring you home. How much benefits you can get in the future will depend on your fate." As soon as she finished speaking, the old woman carried Su Wan-er in one hand and Wang Shangwu in the other. She didn't waste any energy. She rose into the air and disappeared in a flash. Awoo! The forest was in a mess. Towering trees were broken and huge rocks were shattered. Many powerful beasts appeared in the distance and roared. However, they seemed to have sensed some kind of aura and didn't dare to approach. At dusk, Su Yi's figure appeared. Awoo! The surrounding beasts roared. They seemed to have sensed Su Yi's aura and didn't dare to approach. This should be the place. There's a strong aura. It's not normal. Ling Qianque's voice sounded in Su Yi's mind. This aura is strange. I wonder what happened. Su Yi pondered. He felt that the aura was different. It seemed to have an ancient aura. It was very powerful and scary. Not long ago, there was a huge commotion here. Do you know what happened? So he captured some powerful beasts nearby and asked them. However, he didn't get any answers. None of the beasts knew what happened. Walala. There seemed to be a gust of wind howling in the air. The wolf-headed demonic bat spread its wings and flew in front of Su-yi. It hurriedly said, "Sir, there's news. Did you find the person you were looking for?" Su-yi was overjoyed and immediately asked the wolf-headed demonic bat, "We haven't found anyone, but we have news." The wolf-headed demonic bat said in its beast language, "Hello." After a short moment, a few savage demon beasts lay prostrated on the ground, and they gazed at Su-yi while terror surged out from their ferocious eyes. They were precisely those extreme demon beasts that had besieged Su-won-er and Wang Shanwu that day. Only H+% version, all others are stolen G version. When the few barbaric beasts saw the few humans leaving, they left in shock. Coincidentally, the barbaric beasts that were sent out by the wolf-headed demonic bat received the news. Hence, they ended up in this situation. Those two humans were similar to what Sir said, a male and a female. The male was very weak, but the female had a very powerful aura. She was very scary and caused a huge commotion. In the end, they were taken away by an old lady. That person was very powerful. The leading barbaric beast didn't dare to hide anything and told Su-yi everything from the beginning to the end. It's most likely Fatty Wong and Wanner. Su-yi narrowed his eyes. The information that he got from the barbaric beast was most likely Wang Shangwu and Su Wanner. However, Su-yi was also puzzled. Wanner was an ordinary person and had never cultivated before. However, this barbaric beast said that Su Wanner caused a huge commotion. The commotion that they saw from afar during the day seemed to be caused by Su Wanner. Su-yi couldn't understand this. In the end, there seemed to be an expert who took Su Wanner and Wang Shangwu away. To be able to fly away, that expert was at least at the origin void realm. Why were there so many experts at the edge of the barbaric demon forest recently? Did anything big happen around here recently? Is there any news about the blazing dragon emperor? Su-yi asked. There were a lot of experts around here recently. Furthermore, this place wasn't very far from the barbaric city. In addition, they were in the barbaric demon forest. Su-yi had no choice but to guard against his old enemy, the blazing dragon emperor. Back then, he was severely injured by the blazing dragon emperor. Because of that, Ling Qinshu has self-detonated her demonic core. Replying, "My lord, nothing big happened around here recently. However, a few days ago, there was a battle between two demon emperors. It was the blazing dragon emperor. There was also a new demon emperor, an expert from the snake clan." The leading barbaric beast pondered for a moment before replying to Su-yi. It could sense Su-yi's aura and could understand the beast language. It had always thought that Su-yi was also a demon emperor. However, when it sensed the human aura on Su-yi's body, it couldn't help but feel strange. Blazing Dragon Emperor, the Snake Clan's demon emperor, the Green Emperor. Hearing this, Su-yi immediately frowned. It could be said that these two demon emperors were related to him. There was no need to talk about the Blazing Dragon Emperor. The Snake Clan's demon emperor was most likely the Green Emperor. According to the old man, the Green Emperor was injured by the demon emperor of the Holy Mountain and escaped. It seemed that later on, he fought with the Blazing Dragon Emperor. The Blazing Dragon Emperor is slightly stronger. However, I heard that not long ago, the Blazing Dragon Emperor fought with a human expert and was injured. This time, the Blazing Dragon Emperor won. The Snake Clan's demon emperor was heavily injured and was almost killed. In the end, he luckily escaped. The leading barbaric beast said to Su-yi. Hearing this, Su-yi felt a little relieved. According to this, the Green Emperor would definitely not attack the barbaric city for a short period of time. The Blazing Dragon Emperor seemed to be injured and shouldn't come out in the near future. The chances of him encountering the Blazing Dragon Emperor in the barbaric demon forest had decreased by a lot. Let's go. Su-yi waved his hand and dismissed the barbaric beasts. The barbaric beasts felt as if they had been pardoned and immediately left in a panic. Is the Snake Clan's demon core seriously injured? If we can get it, it will be a great supplement. Ling Qinshue's voice sounded faintly in Su Yi's mind. Su Yi smacked his lips. Even if the Snake Clan's demon emperor was seriously injured, it was still a demon emperor. If he encountered it with his current strength, it would be like a sheep entering the tiger's mouth. It was better to stay away from it. How much have you recovered now? If you encounter the Snake Clan's demon emperor, do you have a chance to kill it? Su Yi asked tentatively. If a Ming-Shi of the demon emperor realm could really give him a demon core, it would be a great treasure. No matter how seriously injured a demon emperor is, it's not easy to deal with. Even if it's on the verge of death, it can still self-destruct its demon core. Ling Qinshuo said faintly. Self-destruct its demon core. Su Yi's eyes suddenly narrowed. He still remembered how terrifying it was when Ling Qinshuo self-destructed her demon core. The Blazing Dragon Emperor was also involved in it. He was afraid that the consequences would not be good. This made Su Yi even more certain that he should stay away from the Blazing Dragon Emperor and the Green Emperor. Once he encountered them, he would be the unlucky one. Chapter 660. Oh, occasionally, the roars of a few barbaric beasts could be heard from afar, but they soon disappeared and calmed down. On the top of the mountain, Su Yi looked at the night sky. His eyes emitted a faint light, deep and firm. Look, Zheng. J version C chapter, section, Shanku Carrot, the Xianyang golden demon falcons had also returned. They were perched on either side of Su Yi. They were fully focused as they vigilantly scanned the surroundings. That's Su Wan. Fatty Wang, who is she to you? Why are you so nervous? Ling Qinshue's voice sounded in Su Yi's mind as she asked faintly. Wang is my sister. Fatty Wang is my brother who grew up with me. Su Yi replied. I didn't expect you to have some conscience. You're not so heartless. Ling Qinshuo said lightly. How am I heartless? Su Yi frowned. How could he let this woman stay in his body forever if he was heartless? What are your plans next? Ling Qinshuo asked Su Yi. Next? Su Yi's eyes moved as he stared into the distance. He definitely didn't want to go back to Shunjian Gate for the time being. Let's go to the Chaos region, Su Yi said. After thinking about it, only the Chaos region was suitable for him for the time being. Before going to Shunjian Gate, Su Yi's goal was the Chaos region. In the current world, there were 1 mountain, 2 religions, 3 sects for groups, and 10 major forces. They were all the top behemoths in the world. They were all cultivators' heaven and holy land. Su Yi naturally wouldn't go to the sacred mountain. As for the remaining 2 religions, 3 sects, and 4 groups, Su Yi didn't have much of a good impression of them. He now had the heavenly demon ancient scripture and the origin supreme technique. If he lacked basic skills in the past, then now that he had left Shunjian Gate, he had made up for his lack of basic skills. The barbaric demon forest and the chaos region were both special existences in the current world. However, Su Yi pondered. The barbaric demon forest wasn't particularly suitable for tempering himself. He had many enemies, and it was better to stay away from it. As for the chaos realm, it was extremely large, almost as large as the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea. It had never been touched by anyone from the 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 groups. It was independent of both the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea, and the 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 groups. Moreover, not only was the chaos region chaotic, it was even more chaotic than the barbaric demon forest. It was also filled with endless danger. The chaos region was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. There was no reason to speak of, and it was also a paradise for rogue cultivators. It was precisely because he was a hybrid that Su Yi yearned for. With his heavenly Fey, ancient sutra, and primordial chaos supreme technique, he was able to bring out his advantage. Furthermore, there was no 1 mountain, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 4 groups that could allow him to grow. Everyone in the chaos zone was a rogue cultivator. Even the disciples of the 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 factions had to be wary of them. It was said that if there were disciples of the 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 factions in the chaos zone, they would probably disappear without a trace, and not even their bones would be found. He pondered. If he wanted to become strong, going to the chaos region was more suitable. Although it was cruel, it could also allow him to become strong faster. With his primordial chaos supreme technique, his identity as a soul controller, and the mysterious space and the mysterious light, He was confident that he could gradually grow stronger in the chaos region. Even if the sacred mountain Wang Chuan knew that he was in the chaos region, he wouldn't dare to do anything. Chaos region, where are you going? Hearing Su Yi's words, Ling Qianxue was a little surprised. She said to Su Yi, "That is not an ordinary place." "I know, but I've already decided." Su Yi smiled. If even Ling Qianxue said so, then it proved that the chaos region was worth going to. That place is purely a place where the strong preys on the weak and the strong are respected. Also, the chaos region might not be as simple as you think. For so many years, the one mountain, two religions, three sects for groups, and the demon clan have never touched that place. Ling Qianxue's voice sounded in Su Yi's mind. It's a place where the strong preys on the weak. It's the same everywhere. Maybe this is more suitable for me. Su Yi clenched his fists. Back then, he was a pure rookie. When he came to the Xinjiang Gate, he was a little restrained and couldn't fully display his strength. Maybe this place was more suitable for him after he came to the Chaos region. I forgot that you're also a rogue cultivator. That is a paradise for rogue cultivators. You are a cunning and treacherous kid. When you come to the Chaos region, you will not be at a disadvantage. Ling Qianxue said to Su Yi after a moment of silence. Su Yi was helpless. When was he cunning and treacherous? After that, Su Yi decided on his destination and decided to go to the Chaos region. But to get to the Chaos region, he had to pass through the barbarian demon forest. Su Yi knew the general direction of the Chaos region. After packing up, he called out the mysterious space and let the Xianyang golden demon falcon enter it. Walala, a vigorous and hot aura fluctuated from the mysterious space. Su Xiaoshuai's body was covered in flames, as if he was wrapped in a huge fireball. Ancient mysterious runes covered his body, and his aura was ancient and majestic. After a while, Su Xiaoshuai's body calmed down. He opened his eyes, and his eyes became clear again. Other than the bright colors on his body, he was no different from an ordinary bird. Big brother, I've broken through. Those elixirs are really good. Su Xiaoshuai opened his eyes and saw Su Yi. He immediately flapped his wings and intimately flew in front of Su Yi. Su Xiaoshuai, I'm not done with you. I told you not to move around. Why did you destroy so many elixirs? Su Yi looked at the mess in front of him. More than half of the spiritual herbs and medicinal herbs had disappeared from the field. He was so angry that his heart ached unbearably. Looking at Su Yi's angry face, Su Xiaoshuai flapped his wings and landed in front of Su Yi. He lowered his head and quietly looked like a child who had done something wrong. He did not say a word. You what? Tell me, who told you to destroy so many elixirs? Su Yi was angry. God knows that to Su Yi, these elixirs were his flesh and blood. I was hungry. I couldn't help but eat them. The little bird raised its little head. Those little eyes looked as if they were about to burst into tears. Anyone who saw it would feel their heart soften. You were hungry. Su Yi frowned. Yes, I was hungry. That's why I couldn't help it. Big brother, I'm sorry. Su Xiaoshuai's voice sounded pitiful, as if he was trying to hold back his tears. His little body twitched slightly. It's a phoenix cub. It's the king of the demon clan. You'd better be polite. If you scare it, I'm not done with you. Ling Qianxue's voice sounded in Su Yi's mind with a hint of warning. Chapter 661. Looking at the pitiful little handsome Su Yi's anger disappeared inexplicably. He could only glare at little handsome Su and say, "Forget it. Next time, don't touch the spiritual herbs, medicinal ingredients, or anything else in here. Do you hear me?" I know. Little handsome Su lowered his head, his small eyes looking pitiful. Come out with me, but don't run around. Stay by my side. Su Yi pondered for a moment. He couldn't keep Handsome Sue in the mysterious space forever. Besides, he was afraid that Handsome Sue would ruin the rest of the herbs and spiritual herbs. Really? Thank you, boss. Hearing this, Handsome Sue flapped his wings, and the pitiful look on his face was replaced with excitement in a second. Seeing this, Sue couldn't help but suspect that Handsome Sue's pitiful look just now was definitely an act. After a while, Sue brought Handsome Sue out of the mysterious space. Looking at the outside world, Handsome Sue was excited. He flapped his wings and cheered. Don't run around. Sue couldn't help but be nervous. This guy was very likely to be a phoenix cub. He couldn't let anything happen to him. Handsome Sue was too excited to listen to Sue G cool S craftsman percent J net K forever free. Watch K little speak a whoa. Riding on the wolf bat. Sue could only chase after Handsome Sue from behind. If you run around again, I'll lock you in there. In the end, Sue had to use his trump card to make Handsome Sue land on his shoulder obediently. However, little Handsome Sue's bright little eyes were looking around, full of curiosity. Whoosh! In the calm space, the sound of wind breaking could be heard as a silhouette sped away, leaving behind a long scar in the air. The airflow fluctuated, leaving behind a long scar in the air. Merciless West, you can't escape this time. Just accept your death obediently. A gloomy voice came from the sky. Whoosh! Behind that figure, another figure was following closely behind him. The two figures were like lightning as they disappeared into the sky. What do you eat when you're hungry? In the calm sky, the wolf-headed demonic bat flapped its wings. Sue sat cross-legged on the bat and asked little Handsome Sue, who was peeking his head out from his shoulder. I can eat spirit herbs, spirit fruits, and even meat. Little Handsome Sue said seriously to Sue. Just thinking about it made him a little hungry. His little tongue stuck out as if he was about to drool. Spiritual herbs, spiritual fruits. Sue rolled his eyes at Sue Tianke. Was this fella so hard to raise? Last time, this little fella had ruined half of his herb farm. Who could afford to raise it with such an appetite? Meat? That's fine. I'll find you some meat to eat later. Sue Yi's eyes flickered. It seemed that he hadn't eaten meat for a long time and was starting to crave for it. Phoenixes are the sovereigns of the demonic beasts. This little fella wants to eat the demonic beast's flesh. Ordinary demonic beast's flesh is useless to this little fella. Ling Xianxue's voice rang in Sue Yi's ears. Her voice was soft and gentle, and it seemed to have a lot of charm. Wants to eat the demonic beast's flesh. Sue clicked his tongue and stared at little Handsome Sue. He wanted to eat spirit herbs, spirit fruits, and demonic beast's flesh. Who could afford to raise him? Big brother, I'm hungry. It seemed that the moment food was mentioned, little Handsome Sue started to feel hungry. He looked at Sue eagerly. I'm hungry too. Bear with it. Sue rolled his eyes at little Handsome Sue. It hadn't been long, and this fellow was already hungry. Sue, I'm hungry. Don't you have so many spirit herbs? Little Handsome Sue's little eyes looked at Sue pitifully. Don't even think about it. Those spirit herbs can't be wasted anymore. Sue rejected him without hesitation. He didn't know how long it took him to collect those spirit herbs and herbs. It wasn't easy to increase the efficacy of the herbs in the mysterious space, but half of them had already been wasted. He definitely couldn't let little Handsome Sue waste the rest. Then can you give me the blood jade spirit ginseng's roots that you promised to give me? Little Handsome Sue turned his eyes and asked Sue. Sue rolled his eyes and said, no, at least not now. Sue shook his head. The blood jade spirit ginseng was still recovering. He had given all the roots to the Sue family. He didn't keep any of them. Sue, are you lying to me? Little Handsome Sue stared at Sue, feeling that he had been cheated. I'll give them to you in the future. You ate so many of my spirit herbs. I haven't settled the score with you yet. Sue looked a little embarrassed. He did promise this little fella back then. Okay. At the mention of spirit herbs, little Handsome Sue was like a rooster that had lost a fight. There seems to be a demon's aura. Suddenly, little Handsome Sue raised his eyebrows. His beady eyes twinkled as if he had sensed something. Demon. Hearing this, Sue Yi's eyes lit up. The demon was not an ordinary savage beast. Wolfbat, hide. Immediately, He ordered the wolfbat to land in the forest and hide in the towering trees. Then, he released his soul, energy, and carefully searched the surroundings. But strangely, other than a few ordinary savage beasts, he didn't sense any demon's aura. Little handsome Sue, do you really sense a demon's aura? He couldn't help but ask little handsome Sue suspiciously. It's right in front. Little handsome Sue nodded seriously. He was sure that his senses wouldn't be wrong. He raised his eyes and continued, but it seems to have disappeared again. So strange. This little fella is a phoenix cub. It's normal that he can sense something that ordinary people can't. Ling Qianxue said in Su Yi's body. Did you sense a demon's aura? Su Yi asked Ling Qianxue. I said it's right in front, but it's gone now. Little handsome Su thought that Su Yi was asking him and rolled his eyes at Su Yi. I'm not asking you. Su Yi glanced at him and smiled bitterly. Then who are you asking? Little handsome Su stared at Su Yi and seemed to be searching for something. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. He said in surprise, There's a demon's aura on you. That's strange. I'll tell you later. Su Yi was shocked. This little fellow was indeed a phoenix cub. It was so perverted. I didn't sense a demon's aura either. But since this little fella sensed it, it shouldn't be wrong. There should be a demon in front. Ling Qianxue said to Su Yi. Her voice was filled with shock. She seemed to be surprised that little handsome Su could sense her presence. Let's avoid it. Su Yi didn't hesitate to avoid it. No matter what, it was better to avoid it. Since you've already met it, don't you think it's a little slow to leave? Chapter 662. It was a middle-aged man with a tall and thin figure. He wore a long green robe and had long and narrow eyes. He had a cold and feminine temperament. As this person appeared, the surrounding space trembled slightly for no reason, and the air seemed to have frozen. It's you. When such a figure quietly appeared, Su Yi's heart suddenly trembled when he saw it. Su Yi looked at the middle-aged man in the green robe. Who else could it be other than the Green Emperor who had escaped from Man City? Green Emperor. First release. Su Yi's eyes trembled as he became vigilant. This was a demon emperor expert, the demon emperor of the Snake Clan. It's him. The aura just now was from this guy. When he saw the Green Emperor, Su Xiaoshui was very excited. He had sensed the aura of this person just now. Boy, it's you. There's a path to heaven, but you didn't take it. There's no door to hell, but you came. The Green Emperor looked at Su Yi, but his eyes were secretly sizing up Su Xiaoshui. He was surprised. The Green Emperor secretly released his soul power to spy on Su Yi. He wanted to know if there was an origin emperor expert from Sacred Mountain following him. Phew. Su Yi secretly took a deep breath. He had been avoiding the Green Emperor because he was afraid of encountering him. He didn't expect to be so lucky to encounter him. It seemed that the Green Emperor had been eyeing him for a long time. Green Emperor, the expert from Sacred Mountain, is behind. If I were you, I wouldn't waste time here. Looking at the Green Emperor, Su Yi pondered. Since the Green Emperor had his eyes on him, he wouldn't let him go easily. However, with his normal strength, he was no match for him. Boy, don't try to scare me. The old man from Sacred Mountain didn't come at all. The Green Emperor sneered. He was even more certain that the origin emperor from the Sacred Mountain did not come along. It was only this brat who came. Hey, who are you? How dare you yell at my big brother like that? Do you believe that I won't eat you? Looking at the Green Emperor's attitude, little handsome Su held his head high. He was not afraid at all as he stared at the Green Emperor. A little bird, the Green Emperor stared at little handsome Su in surprise. He had been wondering about little handsome Su for a long time. A little bird that could speak human language should be at least a demon illusionary realm cultivator. However, this little bird didn't seem to be one. Even he couldn't sense any aura fluctuations from it. Behave yourself and stay here. Su Yi's expression changed. He grabbed handsome Su and stuffed him in his front pocket. Su Yi was afraid that the Green Emperor would recognize him. If that happened, he would be in big trouble. Secondly, he was afraid that if they really fought, he wouldn't have the time to take care of handsome Su. Su Yi unsheathed his sword and held the broken sword wrapped in cloth. He looked at the Green Emperor with a gloomy expression and said, "Green Emperor, I see that your injuries aren't light. I'm afraid you're just holding on. Given your current situation, how confident are you that you could defeat me?" Su Yi was clear about the Green Emperor's situation. If the wild beasts were right, after the Green Emperor was injured by the Origin Emperor from Sacred Mountain, he had a big battle with the Blazing Dragon Emperor. His injuries seemed to be very serious. Judging from the Green Emperor's hidden vigilance, Su Yi guessed that the Green Emperor was indeed seriously injured. Back in Barbarian City, he had relied on the external power of the broken sword in his hand to defeat Juba Yi, who was comparable to an Origin Emperor. The Green Emperor must have seen some clues. Su Yi hoped that the Green Emperor would have some misgivings. If they really fought, he would be in big trouble. Hearing Su Yi's words, the Green Emperor's expression didn't change, but his heart was violently shocked. He tried his best not to show any signs, but he didn't expect that kid to be able to see how serious his injuries were. Looking at the strange sword wrapped in cloth in Su Yi's hand, how could the Green Emperor not have noticed it back then? The human in front of him had relied on the external power of that strange sword to fight Juba Yi. There were many mysteries about this kid. To be honest, with the injuries on his body, the Green Emperor was somewhat afraid, but it was only a little. Under normal circumstances, he would be too lazy to take the risk. However, the human in front of him had too many secrets. Even that sword was a precious treasure. Because of this, the Green Emperor didn't want to let this kid go. No matter what, he was still a demon emperor. Could it be that he was afraid of dealing with this kid? Ha 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 ha. Kid, you think you can threaten me like this? There are many strange things about your body. The secret of Barbarian City might be on you. The Green Emperor sneered. The more this kid acted like this, the more afraid he was. The secret of Barbarian City might be on this kid. The Undying Sect didn't get it, but this time a great opportunity fell from the sky. A great opportunity fell on him. Thinking of this, the Green Emperor's fear couldn't help but lessen. Even if this kid had an extraordinary external power, so what? He was seriously injured. It was enough to quickly deal with this kid. This is troublesome. Do you have any ideas? Su Yi whispered and asked Ling Qinxue. Su Yi's gaze was fixed on the Green Emperor. The broken sword was used to scare the Green Emperor. Not every time he could borrow the power of the broken sword. Moreover, even if he relied on the power of the broken sword, it would be difficult to deal with the Green Emperor, a true Emperor Realm expert. Moreover, this Demon Emperor Realm Green Emperor still had the terrifying trump card of exploding his monster core. He has been seriously injured. His breath is chaotic. If I was at my peak, I would be able to deal with him with just one finger. But now I have not recovered much, and I also consumed a lot of energy in Barbarian City. Now, even if I help you with all my strength, it would be difficult to resist a few moves. If this guy wants to deal with you, I'm afraid he won't hold back. You won't be able to escape. Ling Qinxue said with a dignified voice. Although the Green Emperor was seriously injured, he was still not easy to deal with. As a Demon Emperor Realm expert, she was very clear about the strength of a Demon Emperor Realm expert. This is really troublesome. Su Yi's face turned solemn. This time, he was indeed in big trouble. He was thinking of all the possible solutions in his mind. Even if he were to take out his saint weapon, the Starry Heaven's Soul Breaker, with his cultivation strength, there was no way he could deal with a true Demon Emperor. Furthermore, this Green Emperor seemed to have his eyes on him. It would be difficult for him to escape. Kid, you came to me on your own accord. The Green Emperor's narrow eyes revealed a sneer. He didn't want to delay any longer and wanted to end this quickly. This was not a place to stay for long. He originally wanted to leave this place, but he didn't expect to encounter such a great opportunity. He couldn't miss it. Boom! Chapter 663. Gee! In an instant, the Green Emperor's figure appeared directly in front of Su Yi. He stretched out his palm and directly arrived in front of Su Yi. An incomparably sharp and cold aura immediately shrouded Su Yi's body, causing one's soul to tremble uncontrollably. Qi La, In this instant, the handprint rapidly expanded in front of Su Yi's eyes. The fierce wind blew in his face, crushing the void, as if to directly imprison Su Yi and stop his yuan qi. But at this moment, a new aura suddenly surged in Su Yi's body. Qi-la, wherever the handprint passed, Su Yi's figure directly shattered. The space rippled, and Su Yi's body was suddenly torn to pieces, but no blood flowed out. External force so fast. At this moment, the Green Emperor's long and narrow eyes suddenly twitched violently. This kid's speed was so fast. He immediately raised his eyes and looked up. Boom! A great aura caused the void to tremble. Everywhere the Green Emperor looked, there was a bright red light, like a bright sun in the sky, shining brightly. Su Yi's figure appeared above. His body was surrounded by red light, exuding a kind of ancient pressure. The yuan qi wings behind his back flapped, and a bright light shone from his feet. It was incomparably gorgeous, as if there were mysterious and ancient runes flowing on his feet. There were rusty runes gushing out, and a mighty aura swept out. At this moment, Su Yi's eyes flickered like lightning, piercing to the eye, sharp and frightening. It was as if a demon god had awakened. His robe fluttered, and his black hair fluttered behind him. The aura on his body seemed to carry the wrath of thunder, powerful and terrifying. How can he be so strong? The Green Emperor trembled and turned pale with fright. This aura was so terrifying that it directly made his beast soul tremble, and his eyes were filled with horror. This brat is too strange. He must be hiding a great secret. At the same time, the Green Emperor's eyes were burning with excitement. He was certain that the kid in front of him had something to do with the barbarian city. Perhaps the secret of the barbarian city was hidden in this kid's body. Brat, it's useless to borrow external power. You're still too weak. The Green Emperor said coldly. His voice was sinister. Just as his hand seal missed, he clenched his hand into a fist and punched toward Su Yi. Above his fist, green light shone brightly. At this moment, the Green Emperor wanted to end this battle quickly, so he didn't hold back. In front of his fist, the green light shone brightly, and a huge shadow of a Mingxi flapped its four wings. It was ferocious, and its aura was terrifying. Wrath of the 8 Desolates, violent shadow shatters the 9 underworlds. It was also at this moment that Su Yi let out a low roar and kicked down with both feet. He was as fast as lightning, and in an instant, it was as if endless footprints had been kicked out. Light gathered and exploded like a small sun. It was incomparably domineering and destructive. Bang, bang, bang. The void rumbled, and under such footprints the space was distorted. Brilliant energy surged, and the ground collapsed. The void trembled, and the ground cracked. Woo-woo, the shadow of the Mingxi hissed, stirring up the void. The green light spread, and its aura was monstrous. Boom! The ferocious shadow of the Mingxi shattered under the footprints, and an incomparably cold aura rushed toward Su Yi. Puff! Without any hesitation, a mouthful of blood was spat out from Su Yi's mouth. The cold aura entered his body, stirring his blood and qi, and most importantly, affecting his soul. Fortunately, Su Yi had the heavenly origin demon soul, which minimized the effect of the cold aura. He was still able to withstand it. Su Yi's body was pushed back in a straight line. His face was pale, and his expression was solemn. A hint of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes, and at the same time, he condensed his hand seal. Dang, dang, the Azure Emperor staggered. That terrifying aura was simply too terrifying. It was as though Qin Wentian was a paragon of the demonic race. Let's end this quickly. The Green Emperor's face was particularly gloomy after failing to take down the kid in 2 consecutive moves. He could not stay here for long. The Blazing Dragon Emperor was looking for him, and he must capture this kid. The Green Emperor could feel that this kid had some kind of mysterious external force, but there was no way he could compete with him. However, the Green Emperor also knew that he was in the same situation. In his eyes, he was just an arrow at the end of its flight. If he delayed any longer, he was afraid that he would not be able to do anything to this strange kid. Gee! Without any delay, the Green Emperor stomped his feet and stabilized his retreat. His figure took advantage of the momentum and directly jumped towards Su-yi. An expert of the Demon Emperor realm was extremely fast. His figure pounced out, and the green light was like lightning. In an instant, he was in front of Su-yi. His 5 fingers were slightly bent, and a sharp claw print, which seemed to be able to distort the vacuum ripples, fell on Su-yi. Let's take a gamble. At this critical moment, Su-yi's eyes flashed fiercely. At the same time, a light burst out from between his eyebrows. As the claw print fell, Su-yi's figure was immediately enveloped and disappeared. What's going on? This bizarre change happened right before the eyes of the Green Emperor. That lad had disappeared from his sight, causing the Green Emperor's face to change as he was completely dumbfounded. The void flickered, and the fluctuations were like divine radiance. There was a rich energy coming out. What a terrifying aura! The Green Emperor felt it, and his eyes fell on the fluctuating divine radiance. His eyes were filled with awe and fear, and he could not help but tremble. He wanted to crawl in front of it. This is a treasure, an absolute treasure. The Green Emperor's eyes were burning. This was definitely a treasure. His intuition told him that if he could get this thing in front of him, he would be able to move unhindered in the world. Ayo! The wolf bat screeched, and the blood light fluctuated. It directly rushed into the hazy radiance and disappeared in an instant. The Green Emperor gritted his teeth and looked at the fluctuating hazy radiance in front of him. Perhaps the treasure in the barbarian city was something that belonged to this kid. If he could get it, he would be able to move unhindered. Chi, unable to hold back the desire in his heart, his eyes blazed. He was afraid that the situation would change if he delayed any longer. Seeing that the wolf bat had also entered, the Green Emperor could no longer hold back. He gritted his teeth and directly stepped into the light. Chi, when the Green Emperor's figure reappeared, he was already in a mysterious space. The energy of heaven and earth was rich, and the aura was vast. This is a paradise. As a Demon Emperor expert, the Green Emperor felt the great benefits as soon as he set foot in this place. His burning eyes were replaced by surprise. The Yuan Qi wings behind Su-yi's back were retracted. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were fixed on the Green Emperor. This Ming-Chi really couldn't help but break in. Chapter 664. The wolf-head demonic bat and the Xianyang golden demonic falcon also looked serious as they circled around Su-yi, their eyes filled with coldness. Although the cultivation of the two beasts was not as strong as the Green Emperor, the aura that they exuded was not below that of the Green Emperor. This guy actually caught up. Su Xiaoshui finally couldn't take it anymore. He crawled out from Su-yi's pocket and flapped his little wings as he stared at the Green Emperor. Kid, is this what you're relying on? Where else can you run to? The Green Emperor looked around and finally fixed his eyes on Su-yi. He sneered. His luck had finally changed. The big opportunity that belonged to him was finally here. Su-yi did not say anything. There seemed to be no movement in the mysterious space at this moment. Not talking? You'll have a chance to speak when the time comes. The Green Emperor said coldly. This kid had too many secrets. He was not afraid that this kid would not speak when the time came. The Green Emperor's figure was like a flash of green light as he pounced on Su-yi. His lightning-like figure expanded rapidly in Su-yi's eyes. Su-yi's eyes narrowed. His heart was heavy. Could it be that the mysterious space was really useless against demon emperors? It seemed like he had no choice but to fight to the death today. Kid, you won't be able to escape now, the Green Emperor sneered. This kid would not be able to escape even if he had wings. This huge opportunity was going to fall into his hands. Boom! All of a sudden, there was a loud rumble in the mysterious void. From the depths of the void, a bright red lightning bolt descended from the heavens like a bolt of lightning and landed on the body of the Green Emperor with an irresistible force. Rumble! Lightning flashed and thunder roared. The space trembled. Starting from the top of the Green Emperor's head, red electric arcs spread out from his head to his feet. Puff! Without any time to react, the Green Emperor was sent flying by the red lightning bolt. Finally, he landed heavily on the ground and spat out blood. His eyes were filled with excitement and surprise, but in an instant, they were filled with horror. What's going on? He was already prepared to fight with his life on the line. However, the scene that suddenly appeared in front of him left him dumbfounded. He had no idea what was going on. Who sneakily attacked me? Shocked, the Green Emperor suddenly stood up and looked up into the void. His aura suddenly surged. Boom! Wind and thunder clanged as another bright red lightning bolt descended from the sky. It was like a red lightning python descending with unparalleled momentum. The eyes of the Green Emperor were filled with shock. He wanted to dodge, but for some reason, he couldn't. Bang! The crimson lightning struck down from the top of the Green Emperor's head and covered his entire body. Puff! Puff! The Green Emperor spat out blood. Parts of his body were charred black by the lightning bolt. His body was sent flying again. Bastard, who is it? The Green Emperor was furious. His mouth was full of blood. His bright green eyes were filled with blood. Gradually, 2 blood moons were hidden in his eyes. Woo! Woo! At the same time, the Green Emperor's body shone brightly and expanded. With a terrifying woo! Woo! Sound, he turned into a huge sounding serpent. The sounding serpent was ferocious. Its body was covered in green scales. There was a pair of smaller wings on top of its large wings. Its 4 wings flapped like bells, and its aura was fierce. Woo! Woo! The sounding serpent rose into the air. At this moment, the Green Emperor's body was coiled up. His aura was monstrous, shaking the void. He looked up into the void, as if he wanted to know who attacked him. Boom! All of a sudden, the mysterious space trembled as if it had been provoked. In an instant, light flashed, and in the depths of the void, a bright light bloomed like a waterfall. Rumble! The sound of wind and thunder was deafening. A vast and majestic aura came from beyond time and space. It was enough to make all living things tremble. Roar! Coo! The majestic aura made the wolf-head demonic bat and Xianyang golden demon falcon bow down. Su Xiaoshuai's eyes were filled with awe. The light on his body immediately fell on Su Yi's shoulder. What's going on? What's going on? The blood jasper ginseng, who was recuperating, also crawled out from the ground. Under the powerful aura, it could not help but kneel down. Rumble! Hazy divine radiance rippled while the entire space trembled. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and numerous crimson-red bolts of lightning were visible to the naked eye as they charged down furiously from the depths of space like numerous lightning pythons. At this moment, the Green Emperor's blood-red eyes were filled with shock. His beast soul was also filled with fear as it trembled uncontrollably. Bang! 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 Streaks of crimson lightning struck down, and none of them missed their target. All of them landed on the body of the Green Emperor snake. Every time a lightning bolt struck down, the Green Emperor roaring snake's body would be torn open. Bloody holes were everywhere. Its skin and flesh were charred black. Blood flowed out of the wounds, and white bones were exposed. Rumble! The lightning bolts continued to strike, but it was not enough to take the Green Emperor's life. At the same time, the Green Emperor could not dodge them. Uffed! Uffed! The Green Emperor spat out mouthfuls of blood. His body was charred black by the lightning bolts. It was a horrible sight. The most terrifying thing was that the majestic aura had imprisoned the Green Emperor and intimidated his beast soul. Looking at the scene, the wolf-head demonic bat, Xianyang golden demon falcon, Su Xiaoshuai, and the blood jasper ginseng gasped. A smile appeared on Su Yi's face. It was a close call. The mysterious space was indeed the nemesis of these beasts. Luckily, he had won the gamble. Spare me! Spare me! The Green Emperor screamed in agony. His eyes were filled with fear. Rumble, the mysterious space, seemed to have a mind of its own. As if it had heard the Green Emperor's words, The lightning and thunder in the sky gradually disappeared and calmed down. The Green Emperor spat out mouthfuls of blood. His entire body was bleeding profusely. Many parts of his body were char-black and smoking. His four wings were tattered like broken sails. The gigantic body of the sounding snake was in a terrible state right now. His aura was on the brink of death. "Spare me. Let me out. From now on, we will stay out of each other's business." The Green Emperor lay on the ground, looking at Su Yi and begging. H update. D the fastest 4. Carrot up equals BSU, he pondered. The Green Emperor was severely injured. He was probably on his last breath. This was definitely not an act. However, Su Yi really didn't know how to kill a Demon Emperor Realm expert at the moment. After all, even a Demon Emperor Realm expert could protect himself. If this guy was anxious, he might explode his monster core. That would be no joke. Su Yi stepped forward and looked at the body of the Green Emperor. If he let the Green Emperor go, the news of the mysterious space would spread. Therefore, he could not let the Green Emperor go. Die, brat. Chapter 665. It happened too fast. Even the Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon and the Wolf-Head Demonic Bat were shocked. Su Yi's expression changed. Fortunately, he was prepared. Primordial Qi surged under his feet, and he quickly retreated with the Fuyao's 100 transformation steps. Rumble, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled in the void as the scarlet thunderbolt struck down on the body of the Green Emperor Roaring Snake. Chi-la-la, puff, electric arcs raged, and the vast aura suppressed the beast's soul. The Green Emperor immediately spat out blood. It was a horrible sight, but then everything in the void disappeared again. Su Yi stepped back. He was still shocked. He gasped secretly. He was almost killed by the Green Emperor. The Green Emperor was too cunning. It pretended to compromise. Su Yi had to be more careful. This little snake is too disgusting. Little handsome Su cursed loudly. His small eyes were filled with disdain as he stared at the Green Emperor's body that was too horrible to look at. The Green Emperor was terrified. It was extremely miserable. It thought to itself that if it could kill this brat at lightning speed, all of this would disappear, and this mysterious place would belong to it. But the Green Emperor did not expect that it would be defeated again. It seems, looking at the Green Emperor, Su Yi was puzzled. He seemed to have sensed something special about the Green Emperor. "Let's try." Gritting his teeth, Su Yi stepped toward the miserable Green Emperor. "What are you doing?" Looking at the approaching Su Yi, the Green Emperor revealed a look of fear. He thought that the terrifying Crimson Thunderbolt was controlled by Su Yi. "You're just a Demon Emperor. Don't you want to kill me?" Su Yi curled his lips and formed a hand seal. He activated the Origin Supreme technique and slapped a hand seal toward the Green Emperor. "Kid, how dare you?" The Green Emperor was wary of Su Yi, but no matter what, he was still a Demon Emperor. Now that he was being looked down upon by Su Yi, he was infuriated. His aura gushed out as he whipped his tail, intending to sweep it towards Su Yi. Rumble, but in just a moment, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the void. The wind and thunder were loud. A vast aura fell together with a large amount of red lightning. The red lightning was densely packed and fell on the Green Emperor's sounding snake body. Bam, bam, bam. The Green Emperor's body was covered in lightning. Its skin and flesh were bleeding. Woo! When the lightning struck, the Green Emperor could not help but wail in agony. Bam! Su Yi's palm also landed on the Green Emperor. Although the Green Emperor was in the Demon Emperor realm, he was still bleeding profusely from Su Yi's palm. Su Yi's eyes were filled with joy when he saw this. He opened his palm into a fist and punched again. "Kid, I'll kill you." The Green Emperor roared. As a Demon Emperor, it had never been humiliated like this. Moreover, it was by an essence spirit human. Its aura surged as it roared. Rumble the void rumbled. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Large amounts of red lightning fell like red lightning pythons. Bam, 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 woo, woo, boom. The Green Emperor's body was already in a miserable state. It exploded one after another. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. White bones were exposed as he screamed. Su Yi's fist landed on the Green Emperor as well, leaving a bloody hole in his broken body. Large patches of flesh and skin were torn apart. How terrifying! Not far away, the blood jasper ginseng, the wolf-head bat, and the mystic sun golden falcon saw this scene. They could feel the terror of the red lightning, especially the blood jasper ginseng. The red lightning was much more terrifying than the lightning it faced during its tribulation. The Green Emperor's sounding snake's body was writhing. It was in extreme pain. Its blood moon-like eyes were completely replaced by fear. At this moment, only the Green Emperor knew how terrifying the red lightning was. What was even more terrifying was the vast aura contained in the red lightning. The power of the lightning accompanied the terrifying aura. Every time it landed, it could directly crush the Green Emperor's beast soul. It was unbearable and wanted to shatter its beast soul. As expected, Su Yi chuckled. Just as he had expected, once they were in this mysterious space, as long as the Green Emperor tried to do anything to him, he would be punished immediately by the mysterious space. The lightning wouldn't take the Green Emperor's life, but it would tear its flesh apart. The sounding snake seems to be suppressed by this space, Ling Qianxue said in Su Yi's body. She felt something was wrong, and her voice was filled with surprise. Good people will live a peaceful life. Ha ha! Su Yi laughed and left the mysterious space with a smile on his face. The commotion outside might attract some barbaric beasts. This was the barbaric demon forest, and there were many experts. The mysterious space couldn't be exposed. Walking out of the mysterious space, Su Yi looked around. Fortunately, there weren't any creatures nearby. He immediately left. As for the Green Emperor being in the mysterious space, Su Yi was completely at ease. The mysterious space was in his body, and the Green Emperor couldn't escape. Original first release ***** in mysterious space, the Green Emperor was in a terrible state. Watching Su Yi disappear, a pair of fearful eyes fell on the blood jasper ginseng, the wolf-headed demonic bat, and the Xianyang golden demonic falcon. As a Demon Emperor realm expert, the Green Emperor was looking at the wolf-headed demonic bat and the Xianyang golden demonic falcon. He immediately felt the unusual aura of the two beasts. The blood jasper ginseng of the demon void realm also had an unusual aura. Finally, he carefully looked at everything in this space, and the Green Emperor's eyes were filled with astonishment. The Green Emperor wanted to escape. He wanted to leave this strange space, but he found that there seemed to be no exit. What about the big snake? Do we kill it? In the forest, Su Yi leaped. Su Xiaoshui stood on Su Yi's shoulder and said excitedly, "Let's eat snake soup later." Su Yi smiled. The most important thing now was to find a safe place. Snake soup? What snake soup? Is it delicious? When it came to food, Su Xiaoshui suddenly became interested. About 2 hours later, the sun had already set, and the red clouds covered the sky, enveloping the endless forest that covered the sky and the earth. High mountains and steep valleys were connected. Su Yi's figure appeared. He searched for some big rocks and knocked on them. "Boss, what are you looking for?" Su Xiaoshui flapped his wings and followed Su Yi. He was curious about everything. "I didn't bring a pot. I need to find something to make snake soup," Su Yi said seriously. After a while, Su Yi was satisfied. He found a big rock and took out a sharp weapon from his space bag. He hollowed it out and made a big pot. This was a kind of volcanic rock. The heat transfer was very fast. Su Yi was looking for this kind of rock. Then, under a cliff, Su Yi made sure it was safe. He quietly went to an inconspicuous, naturally hidden cave. With Su Yi's 3 years of survival experience in the barbarian demon forest, he was definitely experienced in finding such a safe hiding place. Chapter 666. The miserable Green Emperor was lying on the ground, bleeding profusely. He was resting with his eyes closed. "My lord." Seeing Su Yi coming in, the wolf-headed bat and Xianyang golden demon falcon immediately stepped forward and bowed. However, at this moment, when they saw Su Yi holding a big stone pot, a few bowls made of some unknown fruit shells, and a big bucket of clear water, blood jade spirit ginseng, Xianyang, golden demon falcon, and wolf-headed amana bat were all secretly suspicious. They stared at him in surprise. The eyes of the Green Emperor were fixated on Su-yi. Instinctively, he started to feel fear as he said, "Human, what do you want? How about we just mind our own business? As long as you let me go, I won't make things difficult for you in the future." "Evil creature, do you think I will still believe you?" Su-yi looked directly at the Green Emperor and sneered. This sounding snake was insidious and cunning. How could he fall for it a second time? "Then what do you want?" the Green Emperor said in a deep voice. At this moment, in this strange space, there was no one to respond to him. Everything seemed to be under the control of this human boy. "What do I want?" Su-yi looked at the Green Emperor's blood-stained body of the sounding snake. He narrowed his eyes and pondered. Finally, he smiled and raised his eyebrows. "Let's talk about it later. Let's eat some snake soup first." Then, in the Green Emperor's surprise, Su-yi directly took out a sharp weapon and walked towards the Green Emperor. "Boy, what are you doing?" The Green Emperor was shocked. His eyes were filled with fear, and his breath was surging. Rumble. At this moment, the void roared and suddenly changed color. A large amount of red lightning directly fell and spread on the Green Emperor's body. After a series of muffled sounds, the Green Emperor vomited blood and screamed. As long as the breath in his body moved, he would immediately be struck by lightning. The severe pain on the body was already too horrible for the Green Emperor to bear. More importantly, the power of the red lightning bombarded the beast's soul. That kind of pain was the most unbearable. "I advise you not to act rashly, or you will suffer," Su-yi said lightly, slowly walked towards the body of the Green Emperor, and then directly waved his hand to cut the meat and make snake soup. "Boy, I will fight you," the Green Emperor roared. How could he allow this little human to cut his meat in front of him? Bang, bang, bang. However, before the Green Emperor could finish his sentence, another series of scarlet lightning bolts struck down. "Woo!" The pitiful Green Emperor wailed in agony, his voice getting softer and softer. He was on the verge of death, and a large piece of snake meat was also directly cut by Su-yi. "The meat smells a little burnt." Su-yi sniffed the snake meat in his hand. There was a burnt smell from the lightning. After washing it with water, Su-yi cut the meat and put on the stone pot. Without any ingredients, Su-yi found a few fragrant herbs and spiritual herbs in the herb field and put them together into the stone pot. Look at the chapter W** on the Y version. Walala. Then Su-yi formed a hand seal and used the fire elemental Yuan Qi to make a fire to stew the meat. All this was clearly seen under the eyes of the Green Emperor. The human cut its meat and began to stew it in front of him. This feeling made the Green Emperor spit out a mouthful of blood. "So this is snake stew." Handsome Su finally understood what snake soup was. It turned out that he was going to eat this big snake. The wolf-headed demonic bat, blood jasper ginseng, and Xianyang golden demonic falcon were also dumbfounded. Cutting the meat in front of a demon emperor realm, sounding snake, and stewing it in front of its face. This was too fierce. Soon, the stone pot was filled with the fragrance of the meat. The spiritual herbs and medicinal herbs in the stone pot were glowing. The fragrance was accompanied by a strong energy fluctuation, which made people drool. The snake soup in the stone pot was boiling. The fragrance of the spiritual herbs and medicinal herbs had completely removed the fishy smell, leaving only the fragrance of the meat. The flesh and blood of the sounding snake at the demon royal realm contained surging energy. Together with the stewed spiritual herbs, it was boiled into a snake soup. Its color was crystal clear, rippling with multicolored light, flashing brilliantly, and its fragrance had already spread throughout the entire mysterious space. "It smells so good." Handsome Su couldn't help it. The fragrance was too mouth-watering. "Ku!" The Xianyang golden demonic falcon and the wolf-headed demonic bat smelled the fragrance. For some reason, they couldn't help but swallow. The blood jasper ginseng also smelled it. It stuck its head out and stared at the snake's soup in the stone pot. A few leaves on its head were shining. "Boss, do you think it will be better if you add some ginseng roots to the stew?" Handsome Sue stared at the blood jasper ginseng and couldn't forget its taste. Little bird, don't think about me. The blood jasper ginseng's eyes suddenly changed. Looking at Handsome Sue's burning eyes, it immediately fled, fearing that Handsome Sue would directly attack it. Alas, I was just saying. Handsome Sue was a little regretful. Okay, let's eat. The snake soup was ready. He withdrew his hand. Smelling the fragrance of the meat, he secretly licked his lips. He hadn't eaten meat for a long time. The bowl made of fruit shells was ready. Sui filled the bowl. It was slightly cold. He took a sip of the snake soup. The texture was delicate, the taste was delicious, and the fragrance was rich. I want to eat too. Little Handsome Sue couldn't wait any longer. Here you go. He rolled his eyes at Handsome Sue and filled a big bowl for him. He also prepared a bowl for the Xianyang golden demonic falcon and the wolf-headed demonic bat. Delicious, it's so delicious. Little Handsome Sue gobbled down the food in big mouthfuls. The meat of the demon emperor Rel Mingxi is a treasure. Ling Qinshue's voice spread in Su Yi's mind. At this moment, under the fragrance of the meat, she was also attracted. She only knew about Su Yi's cooking. Woo-woo. Not too far away, the Green Emperor was wailing out tragically. He could only watch helplessly as his flesh was turned into snake soup and devoured by everyone. One could only imagine how frustrated he was right now. But what made the Green Emperor sullen was that when it smelled the fragrance of the meat, it couldn't help but drool. I want more. It's so delicious. The big bowl of snake soup was directly eaten by Handsome Sue in 3 mouthfuls. Here, he had no choice but to scoop another big bowl for him. After the snake soup entered his stomach, he felt a warm energy spread in his body. The meat of the demon emperor realm Mingxi contained energy. Plus, it was boiled with several herbs and spiritual herbs. He knew that this was the benefit of the snake soup. I want more. Little Handsome Sue wolfed down another bowl of snake soup. In the end, he simply gobbled down the soup in the stone pot. Leave some for me. He hurried to save it and only filled another bowl. Chapter 667. Handsome Sue's small belly was like a bottomless pit. It was hard to imagine how Handsome Sue's small belly could contain so much snake soup. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, he sat cross-legged on the ground. The snake soup in his body had benefited, and his body was still injured by the Green Emperor. He needed to heal. Burp. Handsome Sue burped, flapped his wings, and patted his round belly. Then, he went to the side and closed his eyes. His body began to glow. The wolf-head demonic bat and the Xianyang golden demonic falcon also seemed to have benefited from the snake soup. They also went to the side and began to meditate, absorbing the benefits of the snake soup. Time passed slowly, and everything in the mysterious space calmed down. The Green Emperor's sounding snake body was bleeding profusely. His body twitched in pain, and his gong-like eyes blinked occasionally. He seemed to be thinking about something. Woo! At a certain moment, the Green Emperor's eyes flashed fiercely. At the same time, his body glowed again. He opened his ferocious mouth and pounced on Sui. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, a series of red lightning bolts struck again. The poor Green Emperor's body was blasted away. His body was covered with bloody holes, and his 4 wings were broken. There was not a single part of his body that was intact. Woo-woo! The Green Emperor screamed in pain. Under the series of lightning bolts, his beast's soul was trembling. He continued to sit cross-legged. He opened his tightly shut eyes and glanced at the Green Emperor who was sent flying by the thunderbolt. He did not take it to heart and continued his breathing with his eyes closed. The Green Emperor was shocked, and his eyes were filled with fear. He could not circulate his yuan qi at all. Once his yuan qi fluctuated, he would be struck by the lightning. His body was in a terrible state, and he could not even explode his demonic core. Once his yuan qi fluctuated, he would be mercilessly struck by the lightning. After a few hours, the red light around Su Yi's body disappeared. He opened his eyes. Feeling the changes in his body, Su Yi smiled. The snake soup was indeed good, and it allowed him to gain a lot of benefits from the 9th level of Origin Spirit Realm. Handsome Su, the Xianyang Golden Demonic Falcon, and the Wolf-Head Demonibat were still meditating. Su-Yi looked at the Green Emperor's body. The Green Emperor instinctively felt fear, thinking that Su-Yi was going to deal with him again. "What are you trying to do?" The Azure Emperor spoke, glaring at Su-Yi. Right now, he was truly fearful. The pitiful Green Emperor had originally thought that this was a great opportunity for him, a chance for him to roam the world unhindered. Only now did he realize that he was just unlucky to have met this brat. Because he had underestimated his opponent too much and did not put an Origin Spirit stage human brat his eyes, he had ended up in such a miserable state. As a Demon Emperor, he did not even have a chance to self-detonate his demon core. "What am I trying to do?" Su-Yi raised his eyebrows. He really did not know what he was going to do. Originally, he wanted to kill the Green Emperor for Man City, but now that the Green Emperor had no choice but to behave in this space, Su-Yi felt that it was a pity to kill the Green Emperor. "Why don't I give you a chance to submit to me?" Looking at the Green Emperor, Su-Yi asked. He thought that even if he could get a demonic core, it would be better to have a demonic Emperor expert by his side than to make the Green Emperor submit to him. Ever since he left the barbarian city, Su-Yi had come to understand more and more that sometimes just relying on oneself was far from enough. Why was the world so afraid of a colossus like the Holy Mountain? Generally speaking, what they feared was not just a single person from the Holy Mountain, but a group of experts from the Holy Mountain. A group of people was a colossus. "Brat, you're dreaming. I'm a demonic emperor. How can I submit to a little human like you?" The Green Emperor said coldly. No matter how miserable he was at the moment, he would never submit to a little human. Even if he had to die, he would never submit to a human. He was a demonic emperor, a demonic emperor. He had his own pride. "It doesn't matter if you don't submit." Su-Yi shook his head. It didn't matter. Anyway, even if the Green Emperor submitted to him now, he wouldn't dare to believe it easily. "Boss, Master, Handsome Su, the Wolf Bat, and the Xianyang Golden Demonic Falcon had all woken up and came in front of Su-Yi. "Not bad. When are you going to eat snake soup again?" Handsome Su blinked his eyes and looked at the Green Emperor. Thinking of the snake soup, he almost drooled. Looking at Handsome Su, the Green Emperor couldn't help but feel fear. He had seen how big this little bird's appetite was with his own eyes. More importantly, looking at this little bird, he didn't know why his beast's soul was throbbing. "I'll eat later. Let's hurry up," Su-Yi said. This was Man-Demon Forest, not a good place. It was better to leave as soon as possible. Black Devil Sect, Blazing Dragon Emperor. If he encountered any of them, it would be disadvantageous for him, especially the Blazing Dragon Emperor. It could trick the Green Emperor into the mysterious space, but might not be the same for the Blazing Dragon Emperor. I slash after a while. The wolf bat spread its wings and flew away with Su-Yi. Su-Yi sat cross-legged on the back of the wolf bat. He formed hand seals and continued to cultivate. Sitting on Su-Yi's shoulder, Handsome Su looked around curiously. Occasionally, he would spread his wings and soar into the sky. His speed was many times faster than the wolf bat. Su-Yi didn't dare to let Handsome Su wander around the mysterious space. He was afraid that Handsome Su wouldn't be able to resist eating the Green Emperor. After all, Ling Chinchua had said that little Handsome Su needed to eat the flesh of monsters to be effective. The flesh of monsters was little Handsome Su's food. In the vast sky, inside the Man-Demon Forest, there would occasionally be beasts passing by. Sensing the wolf bat's aura from afar, they would avoid it. With the wolf bat as his mount, Su-Yi could relax a lot. Another evening, Su-Yi found a safe place to hide and entered the mysterious space. He planned to rest for the night and set off the next day. The wolf bat also needed to rest. "Brat, I'm not done with you." A scream came from the mysterious space. The poor Green Emperor had more than 10 kilograms of flesh cut off by Su-Yi. Just when he wanted to resist, he was struck by the red lightning. It didn't take long for a large pot of snake stew to be filled with its aroma again. "It smells so good." Handsome Su was drooling. Soon, Su-Yi, Handsome Su, the wolf bat, and the Xianyang golden demon falcon ate heartily. Then, each of them adjusted their breathing and absorbed the benefits of the snake meat and the spiritual medicine. Whoa! The Green Emperor screamed. It was so miserable that one couldn't bear to look at it. The next morning, the wolf bat continued to carry Su Yi to the Chaos Realm. Chapter 668. Su Yi looked at Su Xiaoshui with a smile in his eyes. After a while, he closed his eyes and continued to meditate. After nightfall, everything continued. In the mysterious space, the Green Emperor screamed and wailed in agony. Large chunks of flesh were cut off. The Green Emperor wanted to fight back. However, he was already at a state where he could not fight back at all. On the verge of death, he could only watch helplessly as Su Yi sliced off his flesh. The worst thing was that Su Yi purposely collected its blood every time he cut off its flesh. An expert in the demon royal realm, an expert of the Ming Snake clan, was now treated like a fowl in a pen. His treatment was even worse than that of a fowl in a pen. If other experts were to see this, they would be dumbfounded. Let's barbecue meat today. Something new. After eating snake soup for 2 days, Su Yi was tired of it. Although snake meat was not easy to barbecue, it could still be barbecued. After washing it and using spiritual herbs to remove the smell, the aroma of barbecued meat soon filled the air. It smells so good. Su Xiaoshui was drooling. He had been waiting for a long time. The Xianyang golden demon falcon and wolf-head demonic bat were also drooling. In the end, they wolfed down the meat. The Green Emperor was in despair. Its flesh was being eaten in all kinds of ways. The problem was that it could not help but drool. Sigh. Ling Qinshu aside for the Green Emperor. There were not many demon emperors who ended up in such a miserable state. The next day, Su Yi stopped his breathing. He found that the wolf-head demonic bat, Xianyang golden demon falcon, and Su Tianke were still breathing. There were signs of a breakthrough in their auras. Kid, just kill me. Looking at Su Yi, the Green Emperor was filled with despair. As a demon emperor, all he wanted to do right now was to seek death. That would be much better than this. The meat of a demon emperor is a treasure. You better not die. I still want to eat a few more meals, Su Yi said. Then, he left and disappeared from this space. The Green Emperor's eyes were filled with despair. It hated itself for running into this human brat. The wolf bat and the profound sun golden demon falcon seemed to be showing signs of breaking through again. Su Yi did not want to disturb them. The Green Emperor was an expert in the demon emperor realm. His flesh and blood contained a lot of energy, which was very beneficial to both the wolf bats and the Xianyang golden demon falcon. After eating the snake soup and roasted meat for the past few days, both the wolf bats and the Xianyang golden demon falcon had benefited greatly. Even Su Yi had benefited greatly in the past 2 days. In a vast mountain forest, the sea of trees rose and fell. For the past 2 days, Su Yi had ordered the wolf-head demon bats to circle around the outskirts of the barbarian demon forest. They didn't dare to go too deep into the forest. Although the distance would be much further, it was still better than taking the risk. Without the wolf-head demon bats, Su Yi could only travel through the barbarian demon forest. His speed was much slower. Fortunately, Su Yi's speed wasn't too slow. There were barbarian demon beasts along the way. Su Yi could release his aura and intimidate them. However, there were many adventurer teams and mercenary groups in the barbarian demon forest. Su Yi didn't want to get into trouble, so he took the initiative to avoid them. However, there were some who couldn't avoid in time and were met by Su Yi. There were 20 to 30 mercenary groups. Each of them had a murderous aura around them. They held weapons and were bustling with activity. It seemed like they had gained a lot. Such a young brat dares to come here? Is he alone? Looking at Su Yi, some of the mercenaries were surprised. They sized up Su Yi. Look at this brat. He doesn't seem to have gained anything. He's not a little girl. How can he make us happy? Let's go. Someone laughed. Originally, it was normal to encounter robberies in the barbarian demon forest. However, looking at Su Yi's age, they didn't think that he would have gained anything. Thus, no one cared. Something's not right. Boss, this brat's temperament isn't simple. He might be a disciple of one of the large sections. Who knows? He might have some treasures on him. A short and capable man stared at Su-yi. He felt that the young man in front of him had an extraordinary temperament. Perhaps he was a disciple of one of the large sects who was training with the experts of his sect and was left alone. Swish, swish. Hearing that, many gazes fell on Su-yi. It was normal for disciples of the large sects to follow their masters to train in the barbarian demon forest. It wasn't strange at all. Generally speaking, no one dared to provoke the disciples of the large sections. However, it was a different story if it was a disciple of a large sect who was left alone. The disciples of the large sects would naturally have decent gains on them. Some even had quite a number of treasures on them. This was an irresistible temptation for the mercenaries in the barbarian demon forest. Su-yi's gaze swept across the 30-plus mercenaries. Most of them were at the origin profound stage. There were also 3 who seemed to be at the origin spirit stage. The strongest one was only at the 6th or 7th level of the origin spirit stage. Get lost. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Looking at the puzzled gazes of the mercenaries, Su-yi already knew that this group of people had already set their sights on him. Su-yi didn't want to cause trouble. However, Su-yi wasn't afraid of trouble that had already come looking for him. I didn't expect this brat to be so arrogant. He must have been spoiled by the large sections. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. It's a good opportunity to learn his lesson today. The mercenaries were slightly stunned when they heard Su-yi's words. Soon after, they roared with laughter. They live a life of licking blood from the edge of their blades every day. How could they possibly place a youth like Su-yi in their eyes? The disciples of the large sects were extraordinary. However, how strong could this brat be at such a young age? Let me see what level this brat has reached. Let me see how extraordinary the large sects are. A stout man with a sharp gaze smiled faintly. The large ghost head blade in his hand was suffused with a bloody glow. The aura of the 9th level of the origin profound stage was released as he directly chopped down at Su-yi. This man's attack was simple and lacked any fancy moves. However, it was the most practical and powerful attack. This was the result of years of training. You're courting death. A cold glint flashed across Su-yi's eyes. He didn't have any grudges with this mercenary group. However, this man didn't show any mercy when he attacked. If it was someone else, that person would have been killed on the spot. Su-yi thought of Fatty Wong and Su-won-er. If they were to encounter this group of people in the savage demon forest, what would the outcome be? This infuriated Su-yi. Swish! The man's blade descended and directly chopped at Su-yi's body. Under the gazes of the crowd, everyone's eyes were filled with astonishment. In their line of sight, they didn't see the youth being chopped in half and spurting out blood. Instead, the youth's figure directly and slowly disappeared. Be careful. The leader's expression changed drastically as he cried out in alarm. He was experienced and had a bad premonition. Chapter 669. Bang! With a dull thud, the burly man's body flew out like a sandbag as he spat out blood. The broadsword in his hand had already fallen into Su-yi's hands. The burly man fell to the ground and struggled to get up. His eyes were filled with fear. The yuan-chi whirlpool in his body had already exploded, turning him into a cripple. The scene before them happened too quickly, so fast that dozens of pairs of eyes could not recover from it. He's tough. The few Origin Spirit Realm leaders were the first to regain their senses. They realized that the young man before them was not a pushover, but a well-known figure from a large sect. Whoosh whoosh. Soon, 20 to 30 mercenaries formed a circle, tightly trapping Su-yi within. Their weapons were unsheathed as a bloody aura surged. Looks like your hands are stained with too much blood. Su-yi's gaze swept as a cold intent filled the air. These mercenaries were not good people. They had probably killed and robbed many times. Chop this kid up. The leader of the Origin Spirit Realm mercenaries bellowed. No matter how strong this kid was, could he deal with all of them working together? Such an extraordinary kid would definitely have a great harvest on him. Who knows? He might even have martial arts techniques from large sections. If that happened, they would be rich. Whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, several figures had already taken the lead and charged at Su-Yi from all directions. Oomph. Su-Yi snorted coldly as he stepped out with the rising wind 100 transformation steps. His figure was like a series of afterimages as he swept out. Whoosh, whoosh. The blade light was swift and fierce, as fast as lightning. Ah! Miserable cries immediately rang out as blood spurted out. With Su-Yi's current cultivation and strength, how could these mercenaries be a match for Su-Yi despite their numbers? They could not even touch the corner of Su-Yi's clothes. In just a short while, they were all taken down. Bang, bang, bang. Miserable cries filled the air. Muffled sounds rang out one after another. Figures were sent flying backwards, spitting out blood. Several Origin Spirit Realm mercenaries did not even have time to use their Yuan Qi manifestation before they were taken down. Qi-La, the saber light was like lightning. Finally, the figure fell down. Su-Yi's figure once again stood in the field. 27 mercenaries either lost an arm or a leg. All of them screamed in agony as blood spurted out. The Yuan Qi whirlpools in everyone's bodies exploded, turning them into cripples from then on. Screams and howls filled the mercenaries' eyes with fear as they struggled. They raised their eyes to look at the young man whose broadsword was dripping with blood. Only then did they realize that the young man in front of them was not a flower in the greenhouse of a large sect, but a malefic star. Su-Yi's expression turned cold as he plundered all the loot from the mercenaries. Then, he activated his Yuan Qi and left. Shuttling through the forest, Su-Yi had only obtained a few space bags from the mercenaries. There were no seals on them, so the loot inside was not very attractive to Su-Yi at the moment. In the Chaos region, everything is much more chaotic than the barbarian demon forest. Ling Qinshue's voice rang out in Su-Yi's mind. I'm looking forward to it. Su-Yi smiled faintly. The chaos in the Chaos region was a paradise for a rogue cultivator. First, maybe it's more complicated than you think, Ling Qinshu said snappily. Her voice carried a natural seductive charm and laziness. However, after this period of contact, she understood in her heart that with this brat's treachery, cunning, and methods, there were not many people who could take advantage of him. I'll have to try to find out, Su-Yi said. The little girl from the Saint Mountain, Lu Ruashi, seems to treat you well. Her talent is not bad, but she seems to be the Saint Mountain's saintess. No wonder the Saint Mountain is not willing to break off the engagement with you. Ling Qinshu said faintly. Saintess, what's that? Su-Yi did not quite understand. Those who can become the Saintess and Saint Mountain are the most extraordinary disciples. They are the most important generation of the Saint Mountain. Ling Qinshu said, that's why the Saint Mountain doesn't like you and wants to break off the engagement with you. It's not the Saint Mountain's turn to break off the engagement. Su-Yi said faintly. That little girl is not bad. She's definitely a rare existence among the human race. You Letcher have already had your eyes on her. No wonder you don't want to break off the engagement. Ling Qinshu said. How am I a Letcher? Su-Yi said helplessly. The Saint Mountain is a colossus. If the Saint Mountain forcibly breaks off the engagement, what can you do? Ling Qinshu said softly. One day, I will set foot on the Saint Mountain. A faint red light flashed in his eyes. As if she had sensed the fluctuation in Su-Yi's heart, Ling Qinshu was silent for a while before she continued. You are indeed extraordinary. You have many secrets and that spatial treasure. However, from ancient times until now, there has never been a lack of talented individuals. How many talented individuals among the younger generation have fallen before they could spread their wings? How can you contend against the sacred mountain by yourself? Su-Yi was silent. He had thought about this problem a few days ago, so he didn't kill the Mingxi Green Emperor. No matter how strong he was, the Saint Mountain was indeed a colossus. Su-Yi pondered. Ling Qinshue's words made sense. I'm not alone. After a while, Su-Yi smiled and said to Ling Qinshu, I still have little handsome Su. Su-Yi was looking forward to it. He was not alone now. In addition to little handsome Su, there was also the Tian Yao school, Hu Qi, Xiongzhan, and others. They were all extraordinary. In time, the Tianyao school would reappear in the world. Little handsome Su. Hearing this, Ling Qianxue was a little surprised. Indeed, this guy still had little handsome Su, a divine bird cub, by his side. In time, he would definitely be a terrifying existence. At dusk, the color was getting thicker and thicker. The towering mountains were painted with a layer of golden yellow under the setting sun. Compared with the sea of trees, it looked particularly magnificent. The sky gradually darkened. Su Yi's figure appeared on a towering tree. He looked around, planning to find a safe place to rest and continue his journey the next day. Bang! Suddenly, in the calm, dense forest, a low, muffled sound came from afar, and there was a fluctuation of aura. It seems to be a human expert. He is very strong. Ling Qianxue's voice sounded in Su Yi's mind. A human expert in the barbarian demon forest. Did something happen? Su Yi wondered. It's better to avoid it. Su Yi made a prompt decision. No matter what happened, with his strength, it was best to avoid it. He had no way to participate in it. Even if it was a fight for treasures, it had nothing to do with him. It would not be his turn. Chapter 670. When Su Yi reappeared, he was already in a secluded valley. The entrance to the secluded cave was inconspicuous, but the interior of the cave was a different world. It was big enough to accommodate several people. Su Yi looked around and went in. There were still experts nearby, so Su Yi did not dare to summon the mysterious space. He sat cross-legged in the cave and adjusted his breathing. Time passed slowly, and night fell. Oh, the roar of a beast could be heard from afar, echoing throughout the valley. Swoosh! Light spread out and shone on the valley. A figure suddenly descended and landed in the valley. This was an old man with a pair of brown eyes that were blazing with light. He was dressed in a black robe, and his body was surrounded by a layer of light. His aura was rumbling. However, the old man was in a sorry state. His hair was disheveled, and blood was dripping from his mouth. Inside the cave, Su Yi immediately withdrew his hand seal, and the aura on his body was immediately restrained. He sneaked to the entrance of the cave like a cat and looked outside the cave. The back of a black-robed figure was not far from the cave. The aura on his body was extremely powerful, but he was in a sorry state. His black robe was stained with blood. Su Yi vaguely felt a sense of déjà vu when he looked at the back of the figure. Boom! Soon, another powerful aura descended from the sky. An expert floated in the air and looked down at the old man. It was another old man. He was dressed in a long robe, and his hair was tied up in a bun. He was tall, and his eyes were like torches. His aura was powerful. Merciless West, I've said it before. This time, you won't be able to escape. The old man shouted. His voice was gloomy, and his eyes were like torches. Merciless West. When the old man said those 3 words, Su Yi's heart skipped a beat. Lord Huolong, are you sure you can kill me this time? If I don't die this time, you will regret it in the future. The old man in the black robe stood in the valley. His aura was surging, and his primordial chi light shone on the small valley. He was like an emperor as he looked up at Lord Huolong. Although he was in a sorry state, his aura was still powerful and shocking. It's him. It's really him. Merciless West. Su Yi's heart raced. The familiar figure in front of the cave was indeed Merciless West. Don't worry. This time, I'll definitely destroy your soul. Lord Huolong opened his mouth and looked at Merciless West with a cold gaze. Then come at me. Many people in your Sky Dragon sect have said the same thing, but in the end, they all died in my hands. Merciless West's eyes were cold as she stared at Master Huolong's Sky Dragon sect. Su Yi's heart trembled once again. The Sky Dragon sect was a colossus among the 1 mountain, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 4 gates. It was an existence on par with the Holy Mountain. Merciless West's opponent was actually someone from the Sky Dragon sect. This time, you will die in my hands, Shang'an Huolong said. The yuan qi on his body fluctuated as though there was a layer of fire burning on it. Under the light, one could see that his face was pale and there were faint traces of blood on his body. Head hashtag #MHairBoom. Merciless West didn't say anything. Her hair fluttered in the wind as she stared at Master Huolong. The radiance was glistening as her aura shook the valley. Today you will die, Master Huolong said coldly. The blazing fire attribute Yuan Qi on his body swept out as though a sea of fire had descended. The towering trees around the valley withered in an instant. The high temperature was scorching. He stretched out his palm covered in flames and slapped towards Merciless West. Merciless West's eyes darkened as she moved horizontally at an unbelievable speed. It was as though she had traversed through the void, an arrow at the end of its flight. Lord Huolong was not surprised at all. He quickly turned into a stream of light and shuttled through the air. A palm print that was like a blazing red waterfall instantly wrapped around Shi Wuqing and moved towards him. 6th level of the Origin Emperor Realm. If I step into the 6th level of the Origin Emperor Realm, I will be able to destroy you with a single hand, Merciless West said coldly. She formed a handprint, and a mighty energy fluctuation came out from between her eyebrows. An ancient aura spread out in front of her as the shadow of a flood dragon broke through the void. Roar! The flood dragon roared as it glistened with radiance. It was as though it had traversed through time and space. It carried a mighty killing intent as it charged towards Master Huolong. The flood dragon soared into the sky and shook the void. It was filled with monstrous energy as its aura rushed into the night sky. It was as though a real dragon had descended and could destroy everything in its path. Impressive soul energy. If you had submitted to my Sky Dragon sect back then, your name might have shaken the world today. Unfortunately, you have overestimated yourself, Master Huolong said coldly. However, the slightly serious look in his eyes showed that he didn't dare to be careless. He formed a handprint, and his body shone brightly as a huge fire dragon roared out. Roar! Roar! The two flood dragons roared as their energy spread out. One of them carried an ancient aura and was filled with killing intent. The other one was blazing hot and was burning everything in its path. Merciless West and Master Huolong clashed with each other. Sparks flew in all directions as muffled sounds rang out in the void. He didn't dare to make a sound in the small cave. He held his breath and concealed his aura. He watched the battle between the two sovereigns in the cave with fear. The terrifying strength wasn't something he could deal with. It's that old man. He seems to have suffered serious injuries. I'm afraid he is going to die. Ling Qianque's voice echoed in Su Yi's mind. She had fought with Merciless West before. You said that Merciless West is going to lose? He couldn't see clearly from the cave. He couldn't see what was happening above him. He could only see huge rocks rolling down, the ground shaking, and cracks bursting out. That old man is very strong. He is only at the 3rd level of the Origin Emperor realm. He is actually able to fight with a 6th level Origin Emperor to such an extent. If he wasn't severely injured, he might be able to escape. As a soul controller, his soul force is very powerful. Ling Qianque's voice was filled with unconcealable shock towards Merciless West. So Merciless West is also a soul controller. He just knew that Merciless West was also a soul controller. After hearing Ling Qianque's words, he was even more worried for Merciless West. Roar! The flood dragons roared as the flood dragon's shadow above them shattered. Fire dragon kill. Master Huolong yelled coldly. A large expanse of raging flames engulfed Merciless West. Merciless West had a grave expression. His body was glowing with light as his defense was shocking and blocked the raging flames. However, a faintly discernible fire dragon rushed out from the raging flames. It traversed the small valley and struck Merciless West directly. PFFF. Merciless West vomited blood and landed on the ground. He staggered a few steps back and spat out a large mouthful of blood. You are truly an arrow at the end of its flight. Let's see how long you can last. Master Huolong said coldly. His face was getting paler and paler. A palm print landed, and the raging flames illuminated the small valley in scarlet red. It was filled with killing intent. Tisk! Merciless West's expression darkened as he flew out rapidly. You can't dodge it. Chapter 671. Merciless West was engulfed by the sea of fire. Merciless West, you are going to die today, Lord Hualong shouted coldly. His eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent. His hand seals were formed and the sea of fire was blazing. The murderous intent surged and burst out terrifying waves. Merciless West's body was glowing brightly as she blocked the sea of fire. Her hand seals were constantly forming, and a ferocious bird appeared in the void. The bird spread its wings and created blazing waves of fire. KF Original 7 Edition. First you hear, I can't block it anymore. Lord Hualong sneered. With a thought, a ferocious flood dragon's head was formed in the sea of fire. It was like a volcano erupting and wanted to devour the icy bird. The void was shaking and the aura was overwhelming. He couldn't see everything from the cave. However, he could feel the terrifying aura and knew that it was a terrifying battle. He looked solemn as he sensed the aura. Merciless West seemed to be at a disadvantage. Regardless of which aspect, he naturally hoped that Merciless West would win. Back in the barbaric demon forest, it was all thanks to Merciless West's protection. If it wasn't for Merciless West, he would have fallen into the hands of Ling Qinxue a long time ago. In the cave, he kept his aura and didn't dare to breathe too loudly. Once there were 2 Origin Emperor experts, he wouldn't be able to escape their detection. Rumble, the flood dragon's head and the ferocious bird were destroyed again. In the sea of fire, huge waves surged. Merciless West, you have reached the end. You think too highly of yourself to be my Sky Dragon sect's enemy. To my Sky Dragon sect, the so-called suicidal Yama is just an ant. Lord Hualong sneered. His pale lips were filled with murderous intent. He appeared above the waves of fire and sent a huge palm seal towards Merciless West. Merciless West's expression was extremely solemn. A bright light fluctuated in front of her, covering her body with a layer of armor. However, it was already too late. That terrifying palm print was blazing hot, as if it was going to burn everything. The rocks in the valley below were also roasted into magma. How terrifying was that? In front of the handprint, the void distorted and landed directly on Merciless West. Raging flames exploded and the power swept out, shrouding Merciless West, intending to destroy Merciless West. Merciless West was engulfed by the flames. A fierce look flashed in her eyes, and the aura on her body suddenly erupted as if she had been injected with a shot of cardiac stimulant. A stream of light shot out from between her eyebrows and pierced through the flames. Bastard, you've been hiding all this time. Guru Hualong cried out in shock as his expression changed drastically. That was a soul attack. Even though his cultivation was much higher than Merciless West's, he did not dare to be careless. Boom! The sea of flames above exploded as the raging flames swept out in all directions, destroying everything in the valley. The rocks on the ground were turned into fine powder and magma. Huge rocks rolled down and covered the small cave that Yi was hiding in, leaving only a few cracks. PFFF. PFFF. Shi Wuqing's figure fell down from the sky, coughing up blood as he fell. The ground cracked as he fell, and dust flew everywhere. At this moment, Merciless West was right in front of the small cave that Yi was hiding in. Through the cracks, Yi could clearly see her. Not good. Yi's expression turned grave. Merciless West's injuries were severe, and he was afraid that she would not be able to continue fighting. Guru Hualong's figure landed at a low altitude in the valley. The corner of his mouth was stained with blood, and his eyes were dull. His hair was messy, and it was obvious that he was severely injured. However, he was still in a much better state compared to Merciless West. 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm is not something that you, who is only at the 3rd level of the Origin Emperor realm, can compare with. Looking at Merciless West, Guru Hualong's expression was filled with contempt. He could tell that Merciless West had reached her limit and was unable to continue fighting. 3 of you came. I killed one and crippled the other. If we were to have a fair fight. So what if you are at the 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm? With your current injuries, you won't be able to defeat me. Ha ha. The Sky Dragon sect is just SOSO. Merciless West struggled to get up and sneered. Her body was covered in blood, and her face was pale. Even her hair was stained with blood. She was in an extremely sorry state. Oomph. It's a pity that you are still going to die in my hands. Guru Huolong's expression was unsightly. This time, they had sent out 3 Emperor Realm experts. However, one of his 2 junior brothers had been killed by Merciless West, and the other was severely injured. Guru Huolong was even more aware of his own injuries. His soul was injured, and he was severely injured. He almost died in the hands of Merciless West. Such an outcome was equivalent to slapping the face of the Sky Dragon sect. What a powerful Merciless West. In the cave, Su-Yi was shocked. Merciless West was really ferocious. 3 Emperor Realm experts from the Sky Dragon sect had besieged her, but she still managed to kill one of them and severely injure the other. How shocking was that? However, Su-Yi was frowning with a grave expression. Judging from the situation, Merciless West was most likely going to die today. With his cultivation strength, even if he wanted to lend a hand, it would be useless. He was no match for Guru Huolong, Su-Yi pondered. With his Origin Supreme technique, he could hide in the cave and escape if he tried his best to conceal his aura. However, if he were to watch Merciless West get killed, Su-Yi wouldn't be able to get over it. He owed Merciless West too many times. Suicidal Yama, Merciless West, will die in my hands today. Guru Huolong sneered. His figure slowly descended and coincidentally landed in front of the entrance of Su-Yi's cave. His aura fluctuated as he looked at Merciless West and slowly walked over. His expression was cold and his eyes were deep. He didn't conceal his killing intent. In the cave, Su-Yi secretly clenched his fists. There wasn't much time left. He had to watch Merciless West get killed. Otherwise, he could only take the risk. However, to deal with the 6th level Origin Emperor, Su-Yi could only smile bitterly when he thought about it with his 9th level Origin Spirit Realm strength. Merciless West die. Guru Huolong made his move. He had to kill Merciless West today. With a wave of his hand, the blazing aura on his body surged. A handprint condensed and locked onto Merciless West. Merciless West's pale face wore a sneer and her eyes were cold. Boom! The blazing aura soared to the sky. Guru Huolong slammed his palm down. A dragon roar could be faintly heard from his palm as his aura soared to the heavens. Boom! Suddenly, a powerful aura soared from behind Guru Huolong, causing the mountain rocks to explode. A vast and mighty aura surged like waves. It was domineering and majestic, as though it could suppress all directions and soared to the sky. A saber light seemed to have shattered the void and released a resplendent radiance that illuminated the small valley. It was as though the stars were revolving and countless galaxies were descending from the void. It was accompanied by a sacred aura that seemed to have originated from ancient times. It was simple and ethereal. Chapter 672. Oh no! Lord Huolong's expression changed drastically. The speed was too fast, and it was right behind him. At this moment, Lord Huolong's attention was all on Shi Wuqing. He didn't expect that someone would be able to escape from his prying and sneak attack. Boom! Lord Huolong quickly slapped the palm print that was originally aimed at Merciless West behind him while retreating rapidly. Chila! However, it was too late. The blade light erupted like a volcano and suddenly erupted. A crimson-red aura that covered the sky and covered the earth swept out. Along with the circulation of the constellations and the movement of the stars, it was as if it was dragging a long and gorgeous bolt of lightning as it shot out explosively. A peerlessly vast and fierce, overbearing might swept out. Roar within the saber light. There seemed to be a faint shadow of a scarlet dragon that carried the radiance of the stars. Wherever it passed, the ground would crack and the void would tremble. At this moment, Suicidal Yama, Shi Wuqing's expression changed drastically. That terrifying aura made his soul palpitate. The aura had nothing to do with the attack power. It was purely a terrifying aura that could suppress and kill everything. Gee, when the palm print and saber light collided, raging flames burst out. As the two of them collided, there was an earth-shattering sound that reverberated. Walala! A tornado-like energy ripple swept out from the collision between the saber light and Lord Huolong's palm print, sweeping across the valley. Huge rocks were shattered, and the ground shook. Everything was destroyed. Swish! The saber light pierced through the air and landed on Lord Huolong's palm. Lord Huolong's expression changed drastically. His eyes shrunk, and a vast aura made his heart palpitate with fear. Everything was too chaotic. If Lord Huolong was at his peak, he might be able to escape in such a chaotic situation. After all, he was at the 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm and could be considered one of the strongest experts in the world. However, at this moment, only Lord Huolong knew that he was severely injured. Even his soul was injured. Compared to Merciless West, he wasn't much better off. He retreated rapidly, and his aura burst out in panic. Chila. However, he was still a step too late. Wherever the saber light passed, the 3 fingers on Shangren Huolong's palm, his index finger, middle finger, and ring finger, were all chopped off neatly. The 10 fingers were connected to the heart, and when 3 of his fingers were cut off, even someone as powerful as Lord Huolong couldn't help but let out a miserable shriek. He felt dizzy, and blood flowed out of his hand. Let's go. A ghost-like figure appeared beside Merciless West and pulled Merciless West up. The red light behind his back overflowed into the sky as he flapped his Yuan Qi wings and instantly soared into the sky. Super /B KJV section 5 above $L. Bastard. I'm not done with you. Everything happened too quickly. It was so quick that Guru Huolong, who had already suffered a soul injury, was a little stunned. It took him a while to regain his senses. He immediately roared and flew into a rage as he chased after Shao Chun. The red light spread out, and a figure flew out from the valley. Then it smashed into the mountain range and disappeared. Bastard, you can't escape. Lord Huolong was furious, and his voice reverberated in the night sky. In the mountain range, there was a hidden cliff. The moonlight shone through the dense green vines and into the karst cave. Merciless West looked at the young man in front of her. On her pale face, there was absolute shock in her eyes. It was actually this young man who had just saved her. The person who had just saved Merciless West was none other than Sui. At the last moment, Sui made a move. With the help of Ling Qianxue's strength, he circulated the Origin Supreme technique and activated the Mad Dragon Overlord Slash. Most importantly, Sui had used yet another trump card, the Heavenly Star Soul Shock, on him. With Sui's current cultivation, he was unable to activate the full strength of the Starry Sky Soul. However, with the help of Ling Qianxue, the power of the Starry Sky Soul was imaginable. Sui pondered. If he did not help, he would have passed the test in his heart. However, if he helped, he would not have any chance of winning. Luckily, there was an absolute chance. He hoped to strike with all his strength. With the help of the Starry Sky Soul, Ling Qianxue, the Mad Dragon Overlord Slash, and the Origin Supreme technique, Sui's sudden attack had severely injured Guru Huolong. Hence, he was swept away and 3 of his fingers were chopped off. Looking at Sui, the one who was the most surprised was Merciless West. He still remembered Sui's strength back then. However, the combat strength that Sui had just unleashed had reached such a level that even he was shocked. At this moment, feeling the aura that Sui was restraining, Merciless West was very clear that this young man must have obtained some great opportunity during this period of time. SHHHH. Looking at Merciless West, Sui made a shushing gesture and restrained his aura. He did not even dare to breathe loudly. Guru Huolong was just nearby, and he would be detected easily. Merciless West nodded his head. Enduring the shock in his heart, he stuffed a few pills into his mouth. He did not regulate his breathing as he was afraid that his aura would leak out and attract the attention of Guru Huolong. I've used up too much energy. I'm afraid that I'll have to fall into a deep sleep for a long period of time to recover. Take care of yourself. Don't die. Ling Qinshue's voice rang out in Su Yi's mind before disappearing. Su Yi's eyes moved, feeling a little reluctant. During this period of time, Ling Qinshui had been in his body, and he seemed to have gotten used to it. Oh, in the distance, there were flying beasts spreading their wings from time to time. Barbaric beasts roared before calming down. Su Yi and Merciless West closed their eyes and sat quietly. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. Time passed slowly, and the sky gradually brightened. A night had passed. Phew. Merciless West opened her eyes and exhaled deeply. Looking at Su Yi, she said, "All right, Guru Huolong should be far away. Is it safe?" Su Yi opened his eyes as well, and his tense and dignified expression relaxed. The night seemed peaceful, but in fact, Su Yi's heart was not calm. From last night until now, it could be said that he had walked through the door of death. If Guru Huolong found out, the consequences would be unimaginable. "It seems that I owe you a favor." Merciless West looked at Su Yi, sizing him up and feeling strange. "You're welcome. I owe you a favor too." Su Yi shrugged his shoulders and stood up to stretch, looking very relaxed. "Why are you here?" Merciless West asked. "I've been here all along. I didn't expect to meet you." Su Yi smiled bitterly. He was fine in the cave. Who would have thought that he would encounter a battle between two Origin Emperors? One of them was Merciless West. "You've been here all along?" Merciless West was surprised. She originally thought that Su Yi had sneaked in to attack. She did not expect Su Yi to be in the valley all along. Chapter 673. I didn't expect to meet you again here. Su Yi smiled helplessly. He didn't expect to meet Merciless West again in the barbarian demon forest. It could be considered fate. If it was someone else, Su Yi wouldn't take such a huge risk to save him, let alone take out the Starry Sky Soul. "Oh, see, this time it's all thanks to you. It seems like you're no longer the same as before." Merciless West sized up Su Yi and was secretly shocked. He could feel that when Su Yi helped him, there was an external force. That blade was definitely extraordinary. It was an unimaginable treasure. "You're welcome. You saved me before, and I saved you this time. We're even now." Su Yi smiled. This time, it was a daunting experience, but there was no danger. It could be considered as repaying Merciless West's favor. "You seem to have some secrets. That blade seems to be a treasure. I, Merciless West, don't have a good reputation. Aren't you afraid that I'll take action against you?" Killing and snatching treasures isn't a rare thing in the barbarian demon forest. Merciless West looked at Su Yi carefully and said, "This." Su Yi was stunned. He then smiled faintly and said, "Of course I'm afraid. However, I can't just watch you die. After all, you saved me before." Su Yi paused for a moment. He looked at Merciless West and said, "However, shouldn't Senior West be more afraid of me now? A dignified Yuan Emperor Realm Soul Controller must have a lot of good stuff on him." Looking at Su Yi, Merciless West was stunned. How could he not understand Su Yi's words? This brat's words had a hidden meaning behind them. His meaning was clear. He had helped them out of friendship and was returning the favor. However, since he dared to help and attack Lord Huolong, it meant that he had enough strength to protect himself. Dealing with Lord Huolong was the proof. Su Yi looked at Merciless West with a slight smile in his eyes. He could sense the expression on Merciless West's face. One should never have the intention to harm others, but one should always be vigilant against others. What a shrewd lad. Let's go. This is not a safe place yet. Master Huolong will soon understand that we have not gone far. He will definitely come back to look for us. Let's leave first. Their eyes met. Merciless West smiled and stood up. "All right." Su Yi hesitated for a moment before nodding. Whoosh whoosh, two figures, one old and one young, immediately left. A few hours later, in a hidden valley, there was a narrow crack in the rock wall that could only allow one person to pass through. The walls on both sides were steep. Behind the crack in the rock wall was a completely different world. There was a deep valley that was surrounded by exotic flowers and herbs. The fragrance of the flowers assailed the nostrils. A waterfall was pouring down, and the sound was like thunder. The water was surging, and pearls were splashing everywhere. Sui looked around and was surprised. The surrounding mountains were steep. If he had not entered this place, he would not have imagined that there would be such a beautiful place. Follow me. There is another world here. Seeing Su Yi's surprise, Merciless West flew out as soon as he finished speaking. Yuan Qi wrapped around his body, and he immediately flew into the waterfall. Su Yi's eyes moved. Without hesitation, he condensed his Yuan Qi into a pair of wings and used the 100 transformation steps. Yuan Qi also wrapped around his body as he flew through the waterfall. Inside the waterfall, there was indeed another world. It was a natural cave that was like the work of God. There were all kinds of strange stones in a myriad of shapes. The sunlight outside the waterfall shone into the cave, causing water vapor to appear in the cave. It was quiet and ethereal, as if green clouds were surrounding the room. It was very mystical. Looking at the Yuan Qi wings on Su Yi's back slowly retracting, Merciless West's eyes moved. He immediately said, "This place is very safe. I found this place by accident and stayed here for a period of time." "I see." Su Yi looked around the cave. If he had not been here before, it would have been impossible to find this place. "I need to heal for a few days. Help yourself." As Merciless West's voice faded, he once again stuffed a pill into his mouth. He then sat down cross-legged and formed a hand seal. He ignored Su Yi and began to regulate his breathing. Very quickly, there was a faint green light around Merciless West's body. Seeing that, Su Yi found a huge rock in the corner and sat cross-legged on it. He also began to form hand seals and meditate. At this moment, the situation on Su Yi's body was not too good. Using the Heavenly Star Soul seemed to have exhausted all the energy in his body. And Su Yi knew that the current Heavenly Star Soul was not in its peak state. It seemed to have been affected by something in the Divine Sword Valley, and had not truly awakened, but it was already so powerful. Su Yi reckoned that if the Heavenly Star Soul truly awakened one day and recovered to its peak state, who knew how terrifying it would be. With Ling Qianxue's help, he used the Heavenly Star Soul Shocking technique and actually cut off a few of the Lord Fire Dragon's fingers. This made Su Yi more confident in the future. After a while, Su Yi's body began to emit a faint scarlet light. The origin energy fluctuated, and it was filled with a tyrannical and destructive aura. The Sacred Martial Assembly is about to begin. It's held once every 30 years. Every Sacred Martial Assembly is a fierce battle between dragons and tigers. Heaven's prides and geniuses are everywhere. Of course, the Sacred Martial Assembly is not simple. All the forces in the central region will participate. If anyone can become famous in the Sacred Martial Assembly, the whole world will know. The entire central region, unknowingly, began to talk about the Sacred Martial Assembly. The Sacred Martial Assembly, for the entire central region, was definitely the most lively event. Although the Sacred Martial Assembly that was held once every 30 years was a competition between the younger generation, it attracted the attention of all the forces in the central region and even ordinary people. It's a pity that such a grand event like the Sacred Martial Assembly can only be attended by those under the age of 25. "I'm already 28, otherwise I would definitely participate," a young man said. He was very regretful. He was already 28 years old, but the Sacred Martial Assembly's requirement was that only those under the age of 25 could participate. "I'm only 26. I want to participate. Maybe I can pass." A young man's eyes turned. He wanted to participate in such a grand event like the Sacred Martial Assembly. He wanted to fish in troubled waters and become famous in one battle. Stop dreaming. The Sacred Martial Assembly's examination is very strict. They can tell your age from the examination. It's like a tree having growth rings. No one can sneak in. Those who fish in troubled waters will be severely punished. Some older people reminded. The chances of fishing in troubled waters and participating in the sacred martial assembly were not high. The examination of the sacred martial assembly was very strict. The sacred martial assembly will become famous overnight. It said that those who perform well will be able to enter the sacred mountain to cultivate for a period of time. This is a great opportunity. Chapter 674. The younger generation of the sacred mountain will also participate. Divine Sword Sect, Heavenly Profound Sect, and other sects outstanding younger generation will also participate. It will be a fierce battle between dragons and tigers. To be able to participate, one's life will not be wasted. A youth's eyes were burning. The sacred martial assembly would be attended by all the young geniuses of the various major forces. Being able to participate in it was already a worthwhile life. The boundless silhouette of the majestic mountain range was clearly visible. Countless ancient buildings were hidden in the lush greenery. Spiritual birds spread their wings, strange beasts galloped, and the energy of heaven and earth overflowed. It was like a paradise on earth. Surrounded by peaks, a huge mountain stood tall and straight, piercing through the clouds. Around the winding and rugged stone path, clouds and mist fluctuated, causing the mountain to be faintly discernible in the spiraling clouds, as if it was in a painting. A dead person is actually still alive. His talent is so shocking. Did you see it clearly? The cliff stood in the middle of the lush greenery. From behind a stone door, an old female voice could be heard. Outside the stone door, there was a middle-aged, beautiful woman standing respectfully, not daring to even breathe loudly. It was Deacon Wong of the Sacred Mountain. Saint, I saw it clearly. That kid is too unbelievable. His cultivation is at the 9th level of Origin Spirit Realm, and his strength is extremely terrifying. He can kill Yuan Zhen Realm experts, and he also has an external force that doesn't belong to him. It's very frightening. Deacon Wong replied, that kid is about the same age as Ruashi, 9th level of Origin Spirit Realm, but he can kill Yuan Zhen Realm experts. How can he have the talent of a servant and an external force that doesn't belong to him? The aged voice came out, then calmed down. Coo! Flocks of spiritual birds flew between the cliffs, and their cries were like the sound of nature piercing through the sky. Deacon Wong stood outside the stone door, not daring to even breathe loudly. Why didn't you bring him back? After a while, the aged voice came out again. That kid went missing again. We chased after the people of the Undying Sect. His whereabouts were still unknown when we returned. Deacon Wong replied, her body trembling for no reason. Find out his whereabouts. If he's still alive, return to the Sacred Mountain. The aged voice paused for a moment before continuing. As for the so-called Undying Sect, I've never heard of it. But within the barbaric demon forest, the aged voice began to emit an inexplicable sharpness that caused people to secretly feel a chill. However, when it mentioned the barbaric demon forest, it seemed to have some misgivings. No matter what, the Undying Sect should no longer exist. We must let the world know that not just anyone can touch the people of my sacred mountain. The old voice faintly spread out, and soon after, it dissipated, accompanied by the clear sound of water dripping from the rock wall. Yes, my lord. Deacon Wong nodded and bowed before leaving respectfully. The courtyards and pavilions were quiet and quaint, giving off an antique vibe. In the delicate and gentle study room, Situyun's strong back was facing the window, standing tall and straight. Sect Master. A voice came from outside the door. Come in. Situyun turned her head. A figure walked in from outside the door. It was the Right Guardian. Are there any outstanding people in the various major sects? Situyun's eyes moved as she asked the Right Guardian. The Sacred Martial Assembly was just around the corner. Although there were many geniuses in the Shunjin Gate this time, there was also a huge change. At the end of the Sacred Martial Assembly, only Mu Yao, Ryugan River, and the others could participate. If Su Yi, Yun Lingfeng, and Mu Yao were present, he would be a lot more relieved. For the sake of the sacred martial assembly, all the major sects have trained many people. They all want to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. The information that can be spread out is limited, but it's already very astonishing. Many talented people have appeared. I reckon that there will be many dark horses appearing at that time. In short, I'm afraid that the sacred martial assembly this time will be very lively. The Right Protector said. He was quite astonished in his heart. From the information he had received, it seemed that many peerless geniuses had emerged from each of the major forces. This time, the sacred martial assembly would most likely be exceptionally lively. This time, geniuses from the various major sects will appear in large numbers. I'm afraid that it will be a fierce battle. Mu Yao's strength is astonishing, and the opportunity she obtained in the Divine Sword Valley is not shallow. It's not much weaker than what the old ancestor left behind. I just received news from the elders that Mu Yao has made a breakthrough again. However, if Su Yi did not die, and Yin Lingfeng obtained the opportunity from the Xinjiang Gate this time, the three of them will join forces. Our Xinjiang Gate will definitely be able to shine in the sacred martial assembly this time. Unfortunately, Situ Luyun sighed softly. Her expression was rather regretful. The Right Guardian looked at Situ Luyun. Her gaze was suddenly filled with unconcealable excitement. She said, I unintentionally obtained a piece of news from the Barbarian Demon Forest. Perhaps the sect master will be interested. Barbarian Demon Forest? What news? Situ Luyun's gaze slightly moved. The Barbarian Demon Forest was no small matter. The entire area of the Barbarian Demon Forest was not small. And in the true center of the Barbarian Demon Forest, there were several major powers. The Black Fiend Sect, the Wild Dragon Mercenary Alliance, and the Blood God Sect. Their strength was not weak. Many powers once wanted to get a share of the Barbarian Demon Forest, including the Sacred Mountain. Although many powers were unable to do anything to the Barbarian Demon Forest, for some reason, they did not make a move. Because the Barbarian Demon Forest was related to many powers, the Xinjiang Gate had always arranged spies in the Barbarian Demon Forest to gather information. I heard that there's a small sect in the Barbarian Demon Forest called the Undying Sect. A while ago, they wanted to massacre the Barbarian City. They had the help of a demon emperor, but they encountered a disciple of the Sacred Mountain in the Barbarian City and suffered a great defeat. The Right Guardian said. Her tone was getting more and more nervous. Barbarian City. Didn't Su Yi that brat come from the Barbarian City? The Barbarian City actually has a disciple in the Sacred Mountain. The two words Barbarian City caused Situ Luyun's heart to waver. Su Yi came from the Barbarian City. Su Yi, who came from a small barbarian city, actually had a disciple in the Sacred Mountain. It was enough to prove that the Sacred Mountain was not an ordinary place. Looking at Situ Luyun, the Right Guardian continued to speak slowly. According to the news in the Barbarian City, there's a young man who can intimidate thousands of beasts. He is ferocious and mystical, just like a war god. Rumor has it that he came from the Barbarian City's Su family. His name is Su Yi. When the Right Guardian finished speaking, Situ Luyun's body couldn't help but tremble violently. Her eyes trembled and emitted radiance. Quick, go to the Barbarian City. Go to the Barbarian City immediately. In an instant, Situ Luyun spoke. Her heart couldn't help but tremble. She was so excited that she couldn't calm down for a long time. /head. Hair. Splash. The waterfall poured down in torrents and crashed into the mountain rocks. Instantly, the rocks were smashed into pieces and water mist. Splashed water droplets. Swish, swish. Su Yi had a big saber in his hand. It was at the profound weapon level. He continuously swept, hacked, pushed, cut, swept, slash, slash. This was the foundation of saber that Su Yi had obtained. Compared to the foundation of sword, this saber technique was more open. Chapter 675. With the Starry Sky Soul, Su Yi had a lot of hopes and expectations for his sword skills. Although he had successfully cultivated the Mad Dragon 3 blades, he knew that his sword skills were the same as his previous sword skills. His basic skills were lacking. The basics of saber could make up for his lack of basic skills. For a few days, he had been practicing the simplest basics of saber. Swoosh, swoosh. It was simple and boring, but he was immersed in it. He was fully immersed in it. Sometimes he would face it head-on, and sometimes he would swing his hand horizontally. In the end, he went directly under the waterfall with his upper body naked. The waterfall poured down like 100 beasts. For the past few days, he spent 4 hours a day practicing under the waterfall. He was in it, holding the broadsword in his hand tightly. Sometimes he would sweep with the wind like autumn leaves, and sometimes he would sweep with the wind like a thunderbolt, stirring up waves and splashing water mist all over the sky. The waterfall poured down. He did not use any primordial chi, but the broadsword in his hand was not affected at all. This was a kind of tempering. He was using the waterfall to hone his foundation. If anyone saw this, they would be shocked. Even a cultivator would not be able to withstand the impact under the waterfall without the assistance of primordial chi, let alone practicing sword skills under the waterfall. However, he did it. His body was fearless. He held the broadsword tightly. Under the waterfall, he held the broadsword tightly in his hand and calmly swung it. He kept sweeping, slashing, pushing, cutting, sweeping, slashing, rushing. In the waterfall, a figure quietly appeared. The figure swept out and landed in the valley. This figure was none other than the absolute Yama, Shi Wuqing. In the span of 8 days, his originally ashen face had regained some color. The black robe that was originally stained with blood had also been replaced with a clean black robe. It seemed that he had a preference for the color black. His messy black hair was also tied behind his shoulders. Looking at the figure in the waterfall, Merciless West was moved. Then, she secretly revealed a look of surprise. Swoosh! In the waterfall, he swung his broadsword. It was as powerful as thunder, cutting the water curtain and stirring up waves. Whoosh! With yuan qi gushing out from under his feet, Su Yi's figure suddenly flew out. His upper body was naked, and his face was covered with wet hair. Walala! Fire elemental yuan qi gushed out, and his wet hair and pants instantly recovered. Sui also landed beside Merciless West. Senior, how are your injuries? Sui had long noticed Merciless West. He smiled and kept the dark weapon saber into his interspatial bag. I'm fine now, but I'm afraid it'll take some time for me to fully recover. Merciless West replied, but her eyes were fixed on Sui, as if she wanted to reevaluate Sui. That's good. Sui put on his blue robe and tidied up his attire with a smile on his face. Were you cultivating a saber technique just now? Merciless West looked at Sui and asked curiously. Basic saber technique. I'm afraid it's not up to senior standards. Sui didn't hide anything. This was just the basics of saber technique. A great building starts from the ground. With your current cultivation, it's rare for you to be able to cultivate the basics of saber technique so seriously. Merciless West didn't hide her admiration. With Suyi's current cultivation level, he didn't have any arrogance at such a young age. He could even calm down and cultivate the basics of saber technique seriously. Not many people could compare with him. Senior, you flatter me. It's just that my basics aren't enough. There's nothing I can do. Sui smiled faintly. Without the basics of saber technique, he could only cultivate from scratch. Haha, you're humble. Merciless West laughed. How could she not see that Suyi's saber technique, when he saved her a few days ago, wasn't simple? Sui looked at Merciless West and hesitated for a moment before asking, Senior West, why are you in the barbarian demon forest with the experts of the Sky Dragon sect? Do you have any grudges with the Sky Dragon sect? The Sky Dragon sect isn't an ordinary sect. It's a colossus. If they know that you're the one who cut off 3 of Lord Huolong's fingers, the Sky Dragon sect won't let you go. Are you afraid now? Are you regretting it? Merciless West looked at Sui and said calmly, Of course I'm afraid. But if I regret it, I wouldn't have done it. Although my cultivation level is ordinary, I'm a man of my word. Sui smiled faintly. Of course he was afraid. The Sky Dragon sect was a colossus on par with the Saint Mountain. But he didn't regret it. Ha, you're honest. Come, have a drink. Merciless West laughed and handed a big wine gourd to Sue. To be honest, I've been missing Senior's wine since the last time we parted. Seeing this, Sue did not stand on ceremony at all. He took the wine gourd and took a sip. He really missed this mouthful of good wine. The mouthful of wine was like a knife cutting through his throat. It brought along a wave of heat, as if his throat was going to smoke. Fortunately, Sue was prepared. He was no longer the same person as before. He was no longer as pathetic as he was the first time. His face was red, and he almost vomited. A wave of heat from the wine immediately spread throughout his body. It was as if a wave of heat was spreading through his body. This was a good wine. "Elle, why are you still in the barbarian demon forest?" Merciless West looked at Sue with a trace of light in her eyes. "I went to the Xinjiang Gate. I wasn't used to it, so I came back. I didn't expect to meet Senior again. It's fate." Sue said and handed the wine gourd to Merciless West. Merciless West took the wine gourd and took a sip. "Xinjiang Gate, not bad. With your cultivation level, you should be valued in the Xinjiang Gate. It's a long story. Let's talk about it later." Sue said. The people in the Xinjiang Gate probably thought that he was dead, but he missed Elder Su Jiahui, Zhang Qing, Sita Muyang, and the others. "What do you plan to do in the future?" Merciless West asked and handed the wine gourd back to Sue. Sue didn't hold back and took a big sip. This was a good wine. There were many benefits in it. He couldn't waste it. He then said, "Chaos Region. I plan to go there and take a look." Chaos Region. Kid, you have guts. That place is not an ordinary place. It's even more chaotic than the barbarian demon forest. Merciless West was surprised, but she didn't find it strange. "I want to go there and take a look." So he raised his head and took another big sip. "Kid, leave some for me. There's not much left." Seeing Sue taking big gulps, Merciless West's heart ached. She took the wine gourd from Suyi's hand and took a sip. "Senior, why are you so stingy? I've drunk a good wine before. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely drink with you again." Chapter 676. As soon as he finished speaking, Sue rudely snatched the wine gourd from Shi Wuqing's hand and took another big gulp. He looked at Shi Wuqing, and under the influence of alcohol, his eyes moved slightly. He said, "I heard that Senior is also a rogue cultivator, a loose cultivator with no ties," Merciless West said. She waved her sleeves and looked at the void. "In my opinion, Senior doesn't look like someone with no ties. Success and failure are gone in the blink of an eye, but the green hills are still there. How many sunsets have you seen? And how many times have you seen a white-haired fisherman cutting wood on the river and enjoying the autumn moon and spring breeze? This is not something a person with no ties can say." Sue took another big gulp. From Merciless West's words and actions, it was not difficult to feel that Merciless West, the Yama, was not without ties. The river of history had surged before her eyes, and the years had passed under her feet. However, as time passed, and perhaps she was in her twilight years, she began to show some generosity and solemnity. She seemed to be carefree, but in fact, she was regretful. "You have a good memory. Why, latest chapter, section Supra." Merciless West smiled faintly and looked at Sue. She said, "You seem to be implying something. If you have something to say, just say it." Sue smiled embarrassedly and looked at Merciless West. He took another big gulp. "That's enough, kid. If you drink any more, there won't be any left." Merciless West was distressed and quickly snatched the wine gourd. She could not help but feel regret. If she had known, she would not have taken out the wine. "I wonder if Senior West has any plans to join a mountain gate." Sue stared at Merciless West and suddenly asked seriously, "Why do you say that?" Merciless West was also slightly stunned. She looked at Sue and said faintly, "Do you want me to join the Xinjiang Gate?" "Xinjiang Gate. I don't even know if I can be considered a disciple of Xinjiang Gate." Sue shook his head and continued to look at Merciless West. "To be honest, I'm now the leader of a sect and would like to invite you to join me." "You are the sect master?" Merciless West was stunned for a while. Then he smiled and took a sip of wine. He said with a smile that was not a smile, "Kid, do you know that as long as this old man wants to, I can join any sect in this world? As long as this old man asks, 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 groups will be treated as distinguished guests." He stared at Merciless West. He knew that Merciless West was definitely not talking. If Merciless West wanted to join a mountain gate, 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 groups would definitely be treated as distinguished guests. 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 groups. If Senior wants to join, you will naturally be treated as a distinguished guest. However, if Senior joins, I'm afraid that you will be living under someone else's roof. Perhaps this is the reason why Senior did not join. He said, "Then why should I join your sect? Is your sect stronger than 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 groups?" Merciless West smiled faintly and did not take it to heart. 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 groups? So what? He said. His eyes flickered and a red light flashed. The Holy Mountain was a colossus, but one day he would also set foot on the Holy Mountain. Merciless West shook his head and said indifferently, "Your tone is arrogant. You are young and full of vigor. Why do you need me to join? Even if I join your mountain gate, compared to 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 groups, is like an ant trying to shake a tree. There is a world of difference. Indeed, at least for now, it is incomparable." Su Yi's eyes flickered. He knew that the Tian Yao school had an unparalleled glory in the past, but things had changed. It was no longer the same as before, and there was a great enemy outside. Even Su Yi himself knew that he was no longer the same as before. However, he was still far from being comparable to the Holy Mountain. But in time, this kid's sect will definitely be able to compete with any mountain gate in this world and stand tall. Su Yi said with a determined look. In time, how long will it be? 100 years, 1,000 years, or 10,000 years? Ha! Merciless West smiled and drank a mouthful. He threw the wine gourd to Su Yi and said, "I know you are extraordinary and have outstanding points. But the 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 groups are all giants with thousands of years of heritage. You are still too young, and there are many things you don't know." He took the wine gourd and drank a mouthful. He looked at Merciless West and said, "Senior, aren't you waiting for a confidant who can drink and exchange wine with you? You are not alone." Occasionally, singing in a low voice and turning into the vicissitudes of time in the long river of history. Therefore, although this kid is young, I am willing to be your confidant and drink to my heart's content. I will live like the summer flowers and die like the quiet autumn leaves. Even if I am a flying general of Wulong City, I will still have an iron blood-cold spear. I will live as a hero and die as a ghost." Ha ha ha! Shi Wuqing laughed heartily. His brown eyes, which were sunken in his eye sockets, rippled and surged with light. When his laughter stopped, Merciless West looked at Su Yi and suddenly changed the topic. He said faintly, "What makes you think you can do that?" "Because I can cut off 3 fingers of Lord Wulong. Because I can save you from Lord Wulong." Su Yi looked straight at Merciless West, and his words suddenly became fierce and domineering. The red light in his eyes fluctuated, and there was a sense of arrogance and evil. "I have said that you are indeed outstanding, but in this world there are so many geniuses, and only a few can walk to the end. How dare you speak for me? This old man is already so old, and I don't have time to play with you." Merciless West said, "The green hills are still there. How many sunsets are there? How many things in the past and present are all jokes? Senior, you are indeed old. Ha ha! When you are old, your heart is also old." Su Yi looked at Merciless West and suddenly laughed. He raised his head and took a big gulp. He said, "Drinking to my heart's content, singing to my heart's content, and being arrogant and domineering. When a man goes to the demon forest, I will be the king of 100,000 beasts. The fierce tiger in my heart has already fallen asleep, and I will roar to the heavens and shake 1,000 mountains. With a blade and a sword, I will laugh to the heavens. If I don't get drunk tonight, I will still drink wine. Senior West, you are old, and you're also afraid. Ha! Sue, he raised his head and gulped down the wine. Brat, don't try to provoke me. This old man can see through your little thoughts. Merciless West went forward and took back the wine gourd. He drank a big gulp and looked at the void. He was thin but tall. The deep wrinkles on his neck folded together. His black robe fluttered in the wind. His brown eyes were deep in his eye sockets and surging with light. He said, Then let's make a bet. Do you dare? Senior West, please speak. Sue looked at Merciless West and asked. Chapter 677. Sacred Martial Assembly. Sue was tempted. The Sacred Martial Assembly was the biggest event in the Central State. The Xinjiang Gate and the Sacred Mountain would participate. Sacred Martial Assembly, the top two it is. It's a deal. You have to keep your word. Sue nodded. He would participate in the Sacred Martial Assembly. If he could get a sole controller of the third level of Origin Emperor realm, like Merciless West, to join the Tian Yao School, it would undoubtedly increase the strength of the Tian Yao School. It's a deal. Remember, the top two it is. Merciless West waved her sleeves. The top two of the Sacred Martial Assembly was the pinnacle of the Central State's younger generation. The most outstanding juniors of the Sacred Mountain would participate. To be able to enter the top two, one would need to be extremely talented. What's so difficult about it? Sue, he was filled with pride. If he couldn't even enter the top two of the Sacred Martial Assembly, he wouldn't be able to enter the Sacred Mountain in the future. All right, if you really enter the top two, I'm willing to join your sect. Merciless West raised her head and took a sip. Her eyes were shining. Come, let me take another sip. Sue snatched the wine gourd from Merciless West's hand. He was afraid that Merciless West would finish it. Kid, there's not much wine left. Leave some for me. Senior West is too stingy. If there's a chance next time, I'll give you more wine. What a joke. What kind of good wine can you take out? Do you think all kinds of wine can be called good wine? I don't dare to take out ordinary wine. If there's a chance next time, I'll make sure Senior West is satisfied. Speaking of which, you're quite compatible with my temper. Don't call me Senior. I'm not that old. Senior, you're not old. How about this? You and I are fated to be friends. Why don't we become sworn brothers? What do you think? You want to become sworn brothers with me? Empress of Earth, today I, Sue and Merciless West are sworn brothers of the opposite sex. We shall share weal and woe together. We may not be born in the same year, month, and day, but we may be born in the same year, month, and day. Bah, this won't do. I'm at too much of a disadvantage. We shall share weal and woe together. If I violate this oath, may I be struck by lightning and struck by 5 bolts of lightning. Ha 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 ha, kid, you're really honest. Come, I, Merciless West, and Sue are brothers of the opposite sex. We'll share weal and woe together. If I violate this oath, may I be struck by lightning and struck by lightning. Ah, brother, smelly brat. After a while, Sue was lying on the ground drunk. He didn't use his yuan qi to get drunk. He got what he wanted and fell asleep. Looking at Sue who was lying on the ground, Merciless West looked at the sky where night had fallen. His eyes flashed, and he said, right and wrong, success and failure vanish in the blink of an eye. The green hills are still there. Several sunsets, white-haired fishermen on the river, accustomed to the autumn moon and the spring breeze. A pot of turbid wine, a happy reunion. How many things in the past and present have been turned into jokes? As his voice fell, his eyes were filled with emotions. Shi Wuqing seemed to have expressed his feelings, and then he fell to the ground and fell asleep. A young man is actually so ruthless. In a small town in a vast mountain range, a dozen big men were lying on the ground. One of them was wearing a green robe and had an ugly expression on his face. His eyes were filled with coldness. Boss, that kid is so ruthless. He crippled all of us. If he didn't come early, we would all be buried in the stomach of a barbaric beast. 2's first stone of the big men was covered in blood. They were all crippled when they encountered a barbaric beast. Normal people would be swallowed, but they managed to escape. Search for him. As long as he's in the forest, we won't be afraid of him escaping. Inform all the brothers to search for him. No matter where he comes from, we can't let him go. Otherwise, people will think that our blood-edge mercenary group is afraid." The green-robed man's eyes were filled with killing intent. A formless blood aura fluctuated, causing people's hearts to tremble. The next day, early morning, when Sui woke up, he patted his head and sat up. "You brat, are you awake?" Merciless West's voice came from his side. He was sitting cross-legged. He opened his eyes and looked at Sui helplessly. "I'm awake." Sui rubbed his eyes and looked around. Then his eyes suddenly lit up. He looked at Merciless West and said, "Brother, are we sworn brothers now?" Although his mind was still a little muddled, Sui clearly remembered that he and Merciless West had kowtowed and become sworn brothers yesterday. "You brat, you're so thoughtful. I didn't think that Merciless West, who had dominated for half of my life, would fall into your hands." Merciless West was helpless. He rolled his eyes at Sui. He had dominated for half of his life and had always been careful. He didn't think that he would fall into the hands of this brat yesterday. He didn't know why, but he was completely unprepared and became sworn brothers with this brat. If this news were spread, he wouldn't be able to keep his old face anymore. "Brother, you can't say that. We kowtowed and became sworn brothers yesterday. In the future, we'll share blessings and hardships together. Otherwise, we'll be struck by lightning and struck by lightning." Sui smiled. He had become sworn brothers with Merciless West. Just thinking about it made him want to laugh. In the future, he would have a backer. Sigh, hunting eagles all day long, but I didn't expect to be pecked in the eye by a chicken. Good brat. Merciless West sighed. He felt that he had fallen into the pit dug by this brat yesterday. Fine, Merciless West, will accept you. But let me make it clear. If you can't enter the top 2 of the Sacred Martial Assembly, I won't join your sect. I'm used to being free and idle. I don't want to join any sect. Merciless West continued. Sacred Martial Assembly. Sui suddenly slapped his forehead. Only now did he remember the Sacred Martial Assembly. Yesterday, he had indeed promised Merciless West that he would participate in the Sacred Martial Assembly and enter the top 2 of the Sacred Martial Assembly. Only then would Merciless West join a sect. If you regret it, you don't have to participate. Merciless West looked at Sui. The top 2 of the Sacred Martial Assembly was a competition where all the young generation of the entire Central State would participate. Even the outstanding disciples of the Sacred Mountain would participate. If one wanted to enter the top 2, it would be equivalent to suppressing all the outstanding young generation of the Central State's major sections. Finally, one would have to compete with the strongest young generation of the Sacred Mountain. Looking at Merciless West, Sui shook his head. His resolute face was filled with tenacity. He smiled and said, "I will participate in the Sacred Martial Assembly. I will definitely enter the top 2. Sui originally planned to go directly to the Chaos region. The Sacred Martial Assembly had disciples of the Sacred Mountain and disciples of the Xinjiang Gate. Sui didn't want to participate in it, but at this moment, Merciless West, the Yama, had agreed. Chapter 678. The Sacred Martial Assembly would be attended by all the outstanding youths of the Central Continent. Even the outstanding disciples of the Sacred Mountain would be participating. This made Sui secretly look forward to it. Your tone is not small. Shi Wuqing looked at Sui and said, "As far as I know, the Sacred Martial Assembly will take place in about a month. It will only take a few days to get to Central Continent City from here. It's not too far, so you still have time to prepare. This place is not bad. I can cultivate for a while. When the time comes, I will go directly to the Central Continent City." Sui nodded. To participate in the Sacred Martial Assembly, he indeed needed to make some preparations. In the Barbarian City, Sui had seen Lu Ruashi in action. Disciples of the same generation from the Sacred Mountain were indeed not simple. In the Xinjiang Gate, there was also a terrifying existence like Mu Yao. In the other great sects of the Central Continent, It was inevitable that there would be peerless talents emerging. Su-yi did not dare to be careless. Su-yi was also not a careless person. "Old brother, can you accompany me when the time comes?" Su-yi asked Merciless West. If Merciless West accompanied him to participate in the sacred martial assembly, it would be another layer of protection. "I have nothing to do recently. When the time comes, I will accompany you to the central continent city. I also want to see how far you can go in the sacred martial assembly." Merciless West looked at Su-yi for a while and nodded. "Thank you, old brother." Su-yi smiled. With Merciless West accompanying him, the journey would naturally be much safer. It would only take a few days to reach the central continent city. There was still some time. Su-yi wanted to make some preparations so that he would have more confidence when the time came. As for breaking through to the Yuanjin realm, Su-yi did not want to think about it. To cultivate the great void spirit ocean, he would need to train a few times. The sacred martial assembly was approaching, so there was no time. Moreover, even if there was time, the danger in the middle was great. "I'll continue to recuperate for a while. This place is safe for the time being. Do as you please." As soon as Merciless West finished speaking, she got up and stretched her body before entering the cave behind the waterfall. Su-yi's eyes moved. After a moment of hesitation, the yuan qi under his feet moved, and he followed closely behind. "I have a place that is suitable for you to treat your injuries. Come with me." Inside the cave, Su-yi said to Merciless West with a serious expression. As soon as he finished speaking, he formed a seal with his hands, and a radiance spread out from between his eyebrows, enveloping his entire body. When Su-yi's figure reappeared, he was already in the mysterious space. If he wanted to improve in a short period of time, Su-yi had no choice but to enter the mysterious space. Although the heaven and earth energy in the mysterious space had not yet recovered to its peak, it was still much better than the outside world. As for Merciless West, they had already become sworn brothers. Although he had to be cautious, Su-yi wanted to take a gamble. Even if Merciless West wanted to touch the mysterious space, Su-yi knew that he could protect himself in the mysterious space. "Master, boss," Wolf-headed demonic bat, Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon, and Su Xiaoshui came to Su-yi's side. "Have you all made a breakthrough?" Feeling the aura of Wolf-headed demonic bat and Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon, Su-yi was overjoyed. Wolf-headed demonic bat and Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon had made a breakthrough again. They had benefited greatly from the flesh of the Green Emperor. "We made a breakthrough. This snake meat is really good." Su Xiaoshui was very excited. He flapped his colorful wings and landed on Su-yi's shoulder. He licked his lips and looked again at the Green Emperor's sounding snake, who was on the verge of death. Seeing Su-yi come in, the Green Emperor's withered eyes suddenly opened. He was already on the verge of death, but his eyes were fixed on Su-yi, instinctively showing fear. "You also made a breakthrough?" Su-yi ignored the Green Emperor. He was the happiest about Su Xiaoshui's breakthrough. This was a phoenix cub, the king of the monster clan. Once he grew up, he would be able to dominate the world. Chi, Merciless West's figure appeared in the mysterious space. Her eyes were still filled with confusion. After entering the mysterious space and looking around, Merciless West's expression changed at a speed visible to the naked eye. She was getting more and more shocked. When she saw the blood-stained Green Emperor's sounding snake, the circling wolf-headed demonic bat, and Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon, and the large herbal field, Merciless West's eyes were filled with shock. "Boss, who is this old guy? He's actually at the Origin Emperor realm." Su Xiaoshui looked at Merciless West. His small eyes were filled with light as he felt the aura of Merciless West. "Monster Illusionary Realm, no." Following the voice, Merciless West fixed her eyes on Su Xiaoshui. She was very surprised that this little bird could see her cultivation level at a glance. Looking at Su Xiaoshui's appearance, Merciless West couldn't figure out the origin of this little bird. It could speak human language, so it was at least at the monster illusionary realm. However, this monster beast didn't seem to have reached the monster illusionary realm. "This is my sworn brother, Merciless West. He's also your brother in the future. Don't mess around. Su Yi said to Su Xiaoshui. This is Su Xiaoshui. He has a big background. I'll tell you more about it in the future. Su Yi said to Merciless West. He didn't say much about Su Xiaoshui's background. He had some reservations so that he wouldn't scare Merciless West. Merciless West couldn't figure out Su Xiaoshui's background, but she knew very well that this little bird was definitely not simple. Looking at the wolf-headed demonic bat and Xianyang golden demon falcon, how could Merciless West not feel that these two monster beasts were different? A monster emperor realm Mingxi. In the end, Merciless West looked at the green emperor's body that was on the verge of death. Her heart couldn't help but skip a beat. A monster emperor realm Mingxi was actually lying here in such a miserable state. It seemed that it had been ravaged quite a bit. This big snake's meat is not bad. I can give it to you to have a taste. Su Yi smiled faintly and walked forward. With the sharp blade in his interspatial bag, he cut off a large piece of flesh from the Green Emperor's body with ease. Look at the original version of Square Root Chapter H hashtag section on Cool Craftsman Jane. The Green Emperor screamed and wailed. Even its voice became weak. However, it didn't dare to resist at all. The lightning was too terrifying. When Merciless West saw this scene, she was dumbfounded. An Origin Emperor realm Mingxi. Its body wasn't sealed at all. However, it just let Su Yi cut its flesh and didn't dare to resist. She couldn't help but rub her eyes secretly. That's great. I can eat meat again. Su Xiaoshui was very happy. His small eyes were full of expectation. Only the Green Emperor's eyes were filled with despair. He couldn't die even if he wanted to. Soon, a large piece of barbecued meat filled the air along with the fragrance of spiritual herbs. The meat was sparkling and translucent. The aroma was enough to make people drool. Little glutton, here you go. Su Yi tore a large piece of snake meat and gave it to Su Xiaoshui. Then, he handed a piece to Merciless West and said, "Try it, brother." Chapter 679. T. Craftsman W. Wang Yong H. Geo dollar free to look at NS little T. Woo Woo. The Green Emperor whimpered in a low voice. His breath was weak, and his eyes were filled with despair. At this moment, he finally understood what it meant to beg for death. But at this moment, no one cared about him, and no one even looked at him. When they looked at him, it was only because they wanted to eat his flesh. The Green Emperor thought that once he stepped into the Origin Emperor realm, he would be able to dominate the world and enter the ranks of the true experts. The Green Emperor had never thought that he would end up like this. Brother, you should heal your wounds here. There will be many benefits, and I will also make preparations. After eating heartily, Su Yi said to Merciless West, "Okay." Shi Wuqing had long sensed that this place was not simple. He nodded and wiped his mouth. Still not satisfied, he looked at the miserable Green Emperor not far away. Then he sat down cross-legged and began to regulate his breath. "What a pity," Shi Wuqing said. Su Yi also sat down cross-legged and entered the mysterious space to make preparations. Since he was unable to break through to the Yuanjin realm, Su Yi thought that if he could refine his body again in the great void divine sea, it would be equivalent to taking another step forward. At that time, he would be better prepared for the sacred martial arts assembly. Although Su Yi had a lot of confidence in himself at the Sacred Martial Arts Conference, he did not dare to be careless. Since he was going to participate in the Sacred Martial Arts Conference, Su Yi was not only doing it for Merciless West conditions, but also for himself. Walala. Su Yi formed a hand seal and activated the Origin Supreme technique. Not long after, from the inside out, there was a red fluctuation of Yuan Qi that lingered around Su Yi's body. Recently, with the addition of the spiritual medicine and the flesh of the Green Emperor, Su Yi felt that his Yuan Qi was full again, and there were signs that he was about to break through. Therefore, Su Yi entered the mysterious space with the intention of making a breakthrough. If he could temper himself again in the great void divine sea, his strength would undoubtedly improve. The flesh of the Green Emperor turned into energy in Su Yi's body. Along with the power of the spiritual medicine, it spread throughout Su Yi's body. Finally, under the Origin Supreme technique, it turned into pure Yuan Qi. After 36 cycles in his body, it rushed into the Dantian Sea of Qi vortex. At this moment, Su Yi's Dantian Sea of Qi vortex had become different. If someone could see it, they would be shocked to find that Su Yi's Dantian Sea of Qi vortex was more hazy than ordinary people. Inside the Dantian's Sea of Qi vortex, there was a spiritual glow that formed a layer of light. The dense Yuan Qi inside was also more condensed and pure. The last time Su Yi wanted to break through, it was with the help of the Xian Yuan Soaring Dragon Elixir. Although it was not long, there were still some remnants of a Xian Yuan Soaring Dragon Elixir in Su Yi's body. In addition, the flesh of the Green Emperor's snake body contained a lot of energy. In addition to this period of training, Su Yi once again showed signs of breaking through. Walala, time passed slowly. Unknowingly, Su Yi's aura began to rise slowly. Red light was inhaling and exhaling from his nostrils like spiritual snakes. There was a special rhythm to it, thick and long. Find him, you must find him. In the savage demon forest, Blood Edge mercenaries were searching everywhere for a mysterious young man. A young man who killed a lot of Blood Edge mercenaries. I heard that he angered the higher-ups of Blood Edge, and they are offering a big reward to find him. Blood Edge mercenaries have a lot of elites. The leader is almost at the Yuan ethereal stage. Blood Edge mercenaries have a lot of Yuan ethereal stage elites. I don't know who that young man is. He must have some background to be able to kill so many of Blood Edge's people. So what? This is the barbaric devil forest. Without the protection of their masters, even the disciples of the big sects would suffer if they fell into the hands of Blood Edge. Blood Edge is only a second-rate force. The young master of the Black Kill School was also killed by a young man. The Black Kill School still hasn't found him yet. Say, these two youths are so fierce. Could they be the same person? I don't think so. The young man who killed the young master of the Black Kill School would not have the guts to stay in the forest. He probably ran away a long time ago. Many places were talking about a young man. Time passed slowly in mysterious space. It was unknown when, but in Su Yi's wide meridians, Yuan Qi began to circulate 36 times, and then continuously poured into the Yuan Qi vortex in his Dantian. Quietly, Su Yi's aura continued to rise, and, at a certain point, his aura seemed to have stopped at a certain peak. You're here? Then let's continue. At this moment, Su Yi's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. Red light fluctuated in his eyes before he closed them again. At the same time, Su Yi's hand seals changed as he operated the Origin Supreme Art. The Yuan Qi in his meridians trembled and poured into his Dantian Qi Sea like a flood. It rushed to the center of the Yuan Qi vortex. If the center of the Yuan Qi vortex was struck apart, it would cause the Yuan Qi vortex to expand into a Yuan Qi vacuum. From then on, the Dantian would take form, and the Yuan Qi would condense. This was the difference between the Yuan Zhen stage and the Yuan Spirit stage. This was also the dream of all Yuan Spirit stage practitioners. When the Yuan Qi condensed, the power displayed would be incomparable to the Yuan Spirit stage. However, the Yuan Jin stage was not easy to break through. Many peak 9th level Yuan Spirit stage practitioners would not be able to step into the Yuan Jun stage, even after spending their entire lives. Boom! The surging Yuan Qi directly poured into Su Yi's Dantian Yuan Qi vortex. Suddenly, a rumbling sound spread out from the Yuan Qi vortex in Su Yi's Dantian. At the same time, the vast Yuan Qi vortex in Su Yi's body trembled violently, as if it was about to collapse and expand, opening up a vacuum. Walala, in the mysterious space, the energy of the world gathered and poured into Su Yi's body. Under the refinement of the Origin Supreme Art, the energy of the world directly turned into Yuan Qi and rushed into the Yuan Qi vortex in Su Yi's Dantian. At this moment, Su Yi could clearly feel that his cultivation seemed to be climbing toward a new realm that was close at hand. The Yuan Jun stage was the dream of all Yuan Spirit stage practitioners, and Su Yi was about to achieve it. Chapter 680. Most importantly, Su Yi had only been cultivating for a few years. With the amount of time that Su Yi had been cultivating, he was already about to step into the Yuanjun stage. If this news were to spread, it would shock the world. However, at this moment, Su Yi did not intend to break through to the Yuanjun stage. Instead, he activated the Origin Supreme technique and forcefully isolated the Yuan Qi from the Yuan Qi vortex in his Dantian. Buzz! In the next moment, Su Yi's Dantian sea of Qi roared. A huge force suddenly surged out, causing Su Yi's entire body to tremble. A huge muffled sound rang out in his mind, causing Su Yi's soul to tremble. This movement caused Su Yi to almost lose his balance. The blood in his body surged, and he almost vomited blood. The Yuan Qi vortex in his Dantian sea of Qi vortex, which was about to collapse, was forcefully stopped. Thankfully, this wasn't the first time Su Yi had experienced something like this, and he was prepared for it. He immediately calmed down and began to circulate the primordial supreme art with all his might, gathering the energy of heaven and earth into the vortex in his Dantian. The surging Yuan Qi had not been refined and directly attacked the Dantian sea of Qi vortex. It was as if it wanted to destroy the Dantian sea of Qi vortex. If he was not careful, the Dantian sea of Qi vortex would be destroyed. If it was light, he would become a cripple. If it was heavy, he would directly kill himself. This was self-abuse. It was extremely painful, causing Su Yi's face to become red and swollen. Suddenly, his face became even more ferocious. Su Yi knew that he had to control himself. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. This was only the second time that he had cultivated the Great Void Spirit Sea. This kind of tempering was required a few times, and each time was filled with terrifying danger. Rumble, Su Yi's body trembled. The Origin Supreme technique was activated continuously. A mysterious force surged out from the Yuan Qi vortex in his Dantian, causing the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth to spread. The rich Yuan Qi vortex in his Dantian was much more turbulent than the previous time. It was beyond Su Yi's expectations. Walala, within the Yuan Qi vortex in his Dantian, howling noises were emitted. It was as if 10,000 beasts were galloping, attempting to break through the vortex in Su Yi's Dantian. This caused bean-sized beads of cold sweat to continuously flow out from Su Yi's body. His entire body twitched, and his expression was ferocious. He could not even let out a miserable scream and could not even divert his attention. The process was too dangerous and torturous. Su Yi could only focus on cultivating the primordial chaos supreme technique and cultivating the Great Void Divine Sea. This was a mysterious and domineering method. It guided the energy of heaven and earth into various parts of the Yuan Qi vortex and condensed it. This process was filled with extreme pain. It was self-abuse equivalent to suicide. However, after being tempered by the energy of heaven and earth, even though it was extremely painful, the Yuan power vortex in Su Yi's body was slowly strengthening in an extremely special way. With his eyes slightly closed, Su Yi sat cross-legged. His body was emitting a red light, and his exposed skin was crystal clear. It gave people a feeling of flawlessness, purity, and fullness. The miserable Green Emperor, who was beside him, felt the movement. Looking at the movement on Su Yi's body and feeling the aura on Su Yi's body, the Green Emperor's pupils contracted. He was filled with shock. The aura that permeated the air made his beast spirit palpitate continuously. Unknowingly, Merciless West had also awakened. Her gaze fell on Su Yi's body, and her eyes trembled violently. The movement on Su Yi's body continued for a long time. What is it now? What happened? A voice was heard. Within the herb field, light filled the air, and the fragrance of herbs fluctuated. The blood jade spiritual ginseng appeared, and her gaze fell on Su Yi's body with some surprise. Blood jade spiritual ginseng. However, when Merciless West's gaze fell on the blood jade spiritual ginseng, her eyes almost popped out of their sockets. How could Merciless West not recognize it? This was the blood jade spiritual ginseng that everyone was looking for. At that time, Sue-Yi refused to admit it. She did not expect that it really fell into his hands. Looking at this mysterious place, and then at the blood jade spiritual ginseng, Merciless West's eyes fluctuated. She seemed to have understood something. Back then, this kid had the blood jade spiritual ginseng, but he refused to admit it. You're out? Can you let me eat one of your spirit whiskers? Just one will do. Seeing the blood jade spiritual ginseng, handsome Sue immediately stared at it. His mouth twitched, and he was about to drool. /+C Original Z Chapter B Section B Whoosh. Looking at handsome Sue's appearance, the blood jade spiritual ginseng did not even say a word. It directly burrowed into the ground and left without hesitation. This old radish ran so fast. Handsome Sue was regretful. At a certain moment, the movement on Sue-Yi's body finally calmed down. Huff! Sue-Yi's eyelashes trembled, and he opened his eyes. A mouthful of turbid air was exhaled from his abdomen. The red light in his eyes fluctuated, and then it was restrained. His entire person gave off an extraordinary feeling. Looking into his body, Sue-Yi smiled. The second refinement of the great void spirit ocean had been successful, and he had escaped danger once. He could feel the changes in his body. It had improved by quite a bit, and his combat power had definitely increased as well. Estimating his current combat strength, Sue-Yi had a kind of confidence. Even though he had yet to reach the Yuan Jin stage, Sue-Yi had absolute confidence that he could defeat a level 1 Yuan Jin stage practitioner in a head-on fight. Even if he met an ordinary level 2 Yuan Jin realm cultivator, Sue-Yi had some confidence. The second time, 7 more to go. Sue-Yi took a deep breath. The great void ocean had been tempered twice, and he only needed 7 more times to succeed. Feeling that his body had become stronger again, Sue-Yi secretly praised the mixed Yuan demon body. The great void ocean was very powerful, and it contained many indescribable mysteries. Kid, you seem to be able to break through to the Yuanjin realm. Why haven't you? Merciless West stood up and looked at Sue-Yi. He could feel that Sue-Yi clearly had the opportunity to step into the Yuanjin realm, but he had stopped himself. For any cultivator, the temptation to take another step forward was irresistible. Merciless West originally looked for the blood jade spiritual ginseng because he wanted to take another step forward. However, Sue-Yi's actions had confused Merciless West. To be honest, this is a special technique that I am cultivating. I'm not in a hurry to break through to the Yuanjin realm. Sue-Yi smiled and did not say much. Hearing Sue-Yi's words, Merciless West rolled his eyes. If a young man of his age stepped into the Yuanjin realm, it would be enough to shock the world. The disciples of the big sects would probably dream of stepping into the Yuanjin realm at such a young age. However, this kid said that he was not in a hurry to break through to the Yuanjin realm. If this news were spread, who knows how many people would be shocked. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.